Chapter 1100. Wow. Gosh, she's so pretty. What a pretty girl. Who is she? She doesn't seem to be from our school. Did the school invite someone from another school this time? A girl was standing on the stage. She had curly hair and was wearing a princess dress. The lights shone on her face, making her blush and exquisite. Brother Su, I'm back. The girl winked at Ling Su, who was sitting in the first row. Ling Su's expression didn't change, but the way he looked at the girl was different from the others. Shi Shang was eating sunflower seeds silently. The male lead's childhood sweetheart was back. There was going to be a fight again. Such a pretty and cute girl was actually the male lead's. What a waste of resources. The host is secretly trying to kill the male lead again. Even if you kill the male lead, the girl won't be yours. Give up. Ling Su left with the pretty girl, and this undoubtedly aroused the suspicions of many people. Mu Rong Xiao had planned to clear things up with Ling Su today, but a girl suddenly appeared out of nowhere. She was so pretty and elegant, and Ling Su's attitude towards her was different. Mu Rong Xiao was in a dilemma. After the anniversary celebration, Shi Shang was ready to leave, but Yen Lu stopped her. Teacher, can you wait for me here for a while? Why? Teacher, you'll find out later. Promise me that you'll wait here for a while. If he wasn't serious, she would probably leave. Shi Shang looked at him suspiciously. 10 minutes. 10 minutes was enough. Yen Lu stood up and went backstage. Most of the people had left, and the venue was empty. Bam! The surroundings were suddenly plunged into darkness. The people who hadn't left screamed in panic. Ah, what's going on? Why are the lights off? In the next second, the lights on the stage lit up, and the spotlight shone in the direction of the entrance. A boy walked up slowly from the darkness, and the light enveloped him, making him look soft. He was holding a bouquet of roses in his hand. Yen Lu walked to the center of the stage, and his voice rang out slowly, I don't care who you used to be, and I don't care what you did. I just want you to stand in front of me. I want you to have my shadow in your future. I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? Shi Shang's eyes curved into crescents. This was probably the first time Feng Ci had formally confessed to her. Shi Shang jumped up from below the stage. Another beam of light suddenly turned on and shrouded her. Her voice penetrated the light and the air and landed in Yen Lv's ears. My future is only with you. You are the only one in my future. These words were like the sound of nature. The video of Yen Lu confessing to Shi Shang was posted on the internet. There was nothing sensational about it. It was just a bouquet of roses. Even the stage was left over from the anniversary celebration. However, this video suddenly went viral. It was unrelated to anything else. It was those 7 words. You are the only one in my future. These were probably the most beautiful words of love they had heard this year, but not everyone would dare to say these words. They were forced by life and bound by their families. Their future would be mixed with many things. They did not have the courage to say it. Cold in the middle of the night, I suddenly started believing in love again. Hidden fragrance. Young Master Yen and Teacher Jian seem to be quite compatible. Evil east wind. A teacher who is not teaching properly and is seducing a student. What a scum. Nowhere to be found. To the one above, I think you are just saying that the grapes are sour. If I can get young Master Yen, I don't care about his status. Peach blossom falling. Young Master Yen is too scary. Teacher Jian is awesome. If he can get her, I am convinced. Northwest Wangchong and Teacher Jian is awesome plus 1 green hills can't be covered. Teacher Jian is awesome plus 110 willow above the moon. You are the only one in my future. If anyone confesses to me like this, I will marry him immediately. Their actions put the school in a difficult position. After all, it was not good for the school. However, Shi Shang's superiors were suppressing them. The school was helpless and could only talk to Shi Shang. They asked her to keep a low profile in school to minimize the impact. But before Shi Shang could keep a low profile, she was overshadowed by another incident. That girl went to Yinglan's class and was in the same class as Ling Su. Ling Su, who used to be very mean to girls, went to and from class with this girl every day. They took the same car after school. The girl's name was Yi Jean. Her family background was similar to Ling Su's. She grew up with Ling Su and could be considered as his childhood sweetheart. Like in all novels, this girl had always treated Ling Su as her future husband. Of course, she had to take good care of her own things. After knowing that her future husband was close to a girl in school, the girl was jealous and wanted to see what the girl looked like. Mu Rong Xiaoxiao had an affectionate male supporting lead and the male lead had an affectionate female supporting lead. Shi Shang watched these people abuse their relationship and added fuel to the fire from time to time. The male lead and female lead, who were supposed to improve their relationship because of this, became less and less trusting of each other. Host, you are now dismantling the couple's plot? Don't you hate these things the most? Shi Shang was speechless. How am I plotting? My hand slipped when I was watching the show and blocked the male lead from saving the female lead. How is this a plot? Isn't this a plot? Okay, even if it is. So what? I'm just too lazy to use my brain. I didn't say that I'm brainless. Do you think everyone is like you, stupid system? I have nothing to say. Hashtag my host scolds me whenever she doesn't like it. What should I do? Waiting online. It's urgent. Hashtag the system was very upset and decided to go offline. When summer vacation was about to start, the school organized a party. Brother Su, there are so many people. Yi Jean pulled Ling Su in from outside. She looked innocent but in fact, this girl had many tricks up her sleeve. Ling Su was a little out of it and replied casually, "Yeah. Brother Su, let's go over there." Yi Jean led Ling Su in a direction. Since Yi Jean was out of it, he let her go. His gaze wandered around the party. When it swept past a corner, it suddenly paused and landed on a figure. Ling Su's gaze suddenly became sharp. Mu Rong Xiaoxiao was standing with a middle-aged man. They looked very intimate and Mu Rong Xiaoxiao was even holding his arm. A few days ago, there was a rumor that Mu Rong Xiaoxiao had a luxury car and she might be someone's mistress. Ling Su ran out to question her but was retorted by Mu Rong Xiaoxiao, who asked him what right he had to care about her. Yi Jean asked with concern, "Brother Su, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" She followed Ling Su's gaze and said in surprise, "Isn't that Miss Mu Rong? Who's the man beside her? He looks..." Yi Jean didn't finish her sentence but she had already conveyed her meaning. Asterisk, it's the second last day. Monthly votes. Come on. Oh, don't ask me what my name is. Chapter 1101. Shi Shang stood further away and could only imagine. The man beside Mu Xiaoxiao was probably from the Morong family. The female lead was ready to slap him in the face. Wasn't the plot progressing too fast? Had the $1 million novel shortened to 200,000? Teacher, for you. Yen LV passed a glass of juice to Shi Sheng. Let's go back. It's not fun here. Why should we go back? Both the male and female leads were here. What an idiot. Yen LV pursed his lips and smiled. Teacher, you can do whatever you want. Shi Shang was speechless. I don't want to do anything. Don't tempt me. I'm a determined person. Shi Shang pushed Yen LV's hand away. Behave yourself. Teacher. Let's go back. What was so good about this place? He only wanted her to look at him. Wait. Shi Shang glared at him. Don't mess around. I'll beat you up. Okay. If he carried her away now, she would definitely beat him up. Yen LV looked in the direction Shi Shang was looking at. His eyes were cold. What was so good about her? Teacher. A light voice rang in Shi Shang's ears. Shi Shang turned to look at the girl beside him. His expression was indifferent. What's the matter? Lin Qianlong was stunned. She bit her lip and shook her head. Nothing. After that incident, she was a little afraid of her. Shi Shang held Yen LV's hand and walked to the other side, leaving Lin Qianlong standing there alone. She looked at the people around her blankly. Someone patted her shoulder from behind. Qianlong, forget it. Lin Qianlong covered her face with both hands. Ishwan. What did I do wrong? No matter what she said to her, she was always so cold. She was even colder than when they first met. Lin Yixuan was silent. She patted Lin Qianlong's shoulder. Let's go. I'll take you back to your dorm. It's okay. I'll go back myself. Lin Qianlong forced a smile. Yixuan, I want to be alone. During this period of time, no matter what she did, she had never looked at him in the eye. Miss Yiling, I thought you wouldn't come. It's a surprise to see you here. A man in a suit walked over with a crowd. President Li. Shishang nodded slightly. What are you doing here? Li Cheng glanced at Yen Lu and was slightly surprised. So it's the young master of the Yen family. I was wondering who was so capable to take Miss Yiling down. Shishang glanced at Yen LV. She didn't deliberately investigate, and Yen LV didn't say anything either, so she still didn't know Yen LV's identity. I have nothing to do with the Yen family. Yen LV's voice was cold. Li Cheng seemed to know something. He was silent for a moment and turned to look at Shishang. Miss Jian, I'm here today to announce something. Since you're here, I'll hand it over to you. He glanced behind him, and the person behind him came forward with 2 documents. Li Cheng passed it to Shishang. Shishang flipped through the documents. How can you transfer such a big school to me just like that? Miss Yiling, this is what you deserve, and, if I fail one day, I still have a way out. Li Cheng's words were straightforward. You trust me that much? What if I sell it to you? Shishang raised his eyebrows. Maybe that's my fate. Yinglan was nothing compared to Shehuan Corporation. This woman was too powerful, and he didn't want to be her enemy one day. He passed the pen to Shishang. Miss Yiling. Shishang was silent for a moment, then he took the pen and slowly signed the document. Li Cheng, give up some things and you'll get a lot of unexpected things. Li Cheng's mind raced, and he narrowed his eyes. Miss Yiling, you're right. Shishang looked up at him, closed the document, and returned it. I didn't say anything. Li Cheng laughed. Young Master Yen is so lucky to have someone like Miss Yiling. Yen Lu looked down at Shishang, and the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. Li Cheng glanced at Yen Lu, then gave Shishang a look. Miss Yiling, can we talk in private? Yen Lu suddenly grabbed Shishang, not wanting her to talk to Li Cheng alone. President Li, if you have something to say, just say it. There's nothing he can't listen to. Cough. Li Cheng pressed his fist against his lips. I heard that old Master Yen is dying. Young Master Yen, you're his only grandson now. Go back and visit him when you're free. Yen Lu grabbed Shishang's hand tightly, but his face was cold. He has already chased me out of the Yen family. I heard about what happened back then. Of course, I shouldn't be saying these things. I'm just reminding you for Miss Yiling's sake. As for what you think, it's none of my business. Li Cheng didn't continue. Miss Yiling, I'll take my leave first. Li Cheng left with his men. Shishang squeezed Yen Lu's hand, and Yen Lu immediately came back to his senses. Teacher, are you okay? Yen Lu shook his head. As long as you're by my side, I'm fine. I'll always be here. Yen Lu didn't seem to care about what Li Cheng said. He was dazed for a while, then quickly returned to normal. Halfway through the party, there was a sudden commotion in the middle of the dance floor. There were too many people there, and the people outside couldn't see what was going on. After a while, the commotion suddenly quieted down. Jean, I've tolerated you time and time again. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Morong Xiaoxiao's voice echoed throughout the venue. I didn't do anything. Jin's weak voice was a stark contrast to Morong Xiaoxiao's explosive voice. You pushed me on purpose just now. Do you dare to say that you didn't do anything? I didn't. Brother Su, I didn't push Miss Morong. Morong Xiaoxiao, are you done? Ling Su's scolding voice rang out, and the entire dance floor became even quieter. I'm doing something? Yes, I'm being unreasonable. Is that enough? Morong Xiao Xiao suddenly pushed through the crowd and ran out of the dance floor. Just as she ran out, she bumped into a man. Xiao Xiao? What's wrong? Who bullied you? The man held Morong Xiao Xiao and asked with concern. Morong Xiao Xiao lowered her head and wiped her tears. Little uncle, I'm fine. The man frowned and looked at Ling Su and Yi Jin, who were still standing on the dance floor. Don't be afraid, Xiao Xiao. Uncle is here. He held Morong Xiao Xiao's hand and walked towards Ling Su. Are you Ling Su? Ling Su's gaze fell on the man's hand that was holding Morong Xiao Xiao's hand. Who are you? Morong Xiao Xiao's uncle, a shareholder of Inglon. Ling Su's expression changed slightly, and there were some unknown emotions surging in his eyes. Morong Xiao Xiao, where did you find this actress? Her acting skills are not bad. A student at the side teased. If she was the niece of a shareholder of Inglon, why did she have to pretend to be an ordinary person and enter the school? Ha ha ha, Morong Xiao Xiao must be crazy. Do you think that Prince Yu will take a second look at you just because you look so realistic? Morong Xiao Xiao, why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? You want to covet our Prince Yu with your looks? Dream on. #hashtag today's tricolor ticket hashtag it's a new week. We're counting on you, babies. Don't be careless. Hashtag. Chapter 1102. Shi Shang was engrossed in reading when a few of Li Cheng's men came back and handed him a document. Miss Jian, this is the content of the announcement. Please take a look. If there are no problems, we can begin. Shi Shang was speechless. Another pretentious act? Li Cheng's speed was really fast. Pretentious acts took time, so Shi Shang asked them to wait. After Morong Xiao Xiao's uncle revealed her identity, Shi Shang told them to begin. The only light in the hall was the stage. Everyone's eyes were focused on the stage. The principal went on stage first. Everyone, please be quiet. I have something to announce. After the principal finished speaking, the lawyer went up and read the document. Mr. Li Cheng has transferred all of Inglon's shares to Miss Jian Yin. From today onwards, Miss Jian Yin is the biggest shareholder of Inglon. She has absolute control over the shares. The crowd was in an uproar. Weren't they still shocked by Morong Xiao Xiao's identity? How did this unknown teacher suddenly become the biggest shareholder? Let's welcome Miss Jian Yin to speak. Shi Shang went up the stage and took the microphone from the lawyer. There's nothing to say. You all know me. If you don't cause trouble, everyone will be fine. But if you do, don't blame me for being rude. The lawyer's mouth twitched. Sir said that this person was simple and crude. This was really simple and crude. Shi Shang only said that one sentence and didn't say anything else. His pretentiousness was top-notch. The host's pretentiousness was amazing. No wonder he was a professional pretentious person for 100 years. Shi Shang was smug. Of course, I was the ancestor of the pretentious world. Shi Shang saw Mu Xiao Xiao standing with the man. The man was sizing up Shi Shang while Mu Xiao Xiao was in disbelief. She probably couldn't understand how a teacher could suddenly have such a high status. Ling Yu's expression was even worse. He had his suspicions ever since Jin Yu's accident and Li Cheng's sudden takeover of Shihuan Group. But suspicions weren't proof. He didn't expect her to be related to Li Cheng. The news of Inglon's change of shareholders was published in the newspaper. Shi Shang received a call from Mother Jian immediately. Xiaoyin, what's going on? How did you suddenly become a shareholder of Inglon? Mother Jian's voice was full of nervousness. Xiaoyin, tell me the truth. What are you doing? Shi Shang pushed the woman who was hugging him away. Mom, it's a little complicated, and you might not understand even if I tell you. If you don't tell me, how am I supposed to understand? Little Yin, you have to tell me clearly what happened. Shi Shang. How was she supposed to explain this? Shi Shang rambled on for an hour before Mother Jen finally stopped. Shi Shang felt that he should send them outside to play. Travel around the world or something. This was a good idea. Shi Shang immediately signed up Father Jian and Mother Jian for a trip around the world. He would act first and report later. After settling all these, Shi Shang returned to the bed. Yan LV was still sleeping. The quilt was casually draped over his waist, and the scenery below was partly visible. It was a feast for the eyes. Yan LV was woken up by a kiss. He responded to Shi Shang in a daze. Then, he turned over and pressed the person on top of him. Teacher, didn't I satisfy you last night? Stop talking nonsense. Are you going to do it or not? If not, get up. Yan LV didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Teacher, couldn't she have a normal girl's reaction? Shi Shang became the biggest shareholder of the school. Now, no one dared to gossip about her. They wanted to stuff themselves into a crack in the ground whenever they saw her. She was already scary in the past. Now, she was even scarier. Now that Mu Rong Xiaoxiao's identity was exposed, no one dared to bully her anymore. However, there were still many people who pointed fingers at her. Mu Rong Xiaoxiao suddenly got together with Ou Yuchen. When Ling Su found out, he got together with Yi Jin in a fit of anger. Shi Shang heard the students gossiping and guessed that it would be difficult for Ling Su and Mu Rong Xiaoxiao to get back together. The plot now was completely different from the original plot. There was no Ling Su almost dying for Mu Rong Xiaoxiao, and there was no Mu Rong Xiaoxiao crying. There were too many thorns between them. Yan Lu. Shi Shang propped up his chin and looked at the boy beside him. If you find out that I lied to you one day, what will you do? The boy put down his book and looked at Shi Shang. After a few seconds of silence, he said, I only want you. Whether it's your body, your heart, or your soul, I don't care about anything else. Even if you lied to me, you can only be mine. He paused and said, I trust you. You won't lie to me. So, there's no if. Shi Shang chuckled. Yeah, there's no if. Yan Lu continued to read the book. After a long while, he suddenly said, Teacher, this question doesn't. Book. Yan LV handed the book over and sat down. The two of them were in an intimate position. The girl explained the question to the boy softly. The boy would occasionally look sideways and smile. It was a pleasing scene. When it was nearing the end of the semester, the two of them could be seen in the library a lot of the time. When the final exam results came out, Yan Lu didn't fail but he just passed. Thus, when he asked for a reward, Shi Shang rejected him righteously even though it was useless in the end. Shi Shang met Lin Qianlong a few more times and was coldly rejected by her. Then, he heard that she had gone abroad with Lin Yixuan. Mu Rong Xiaoxiao had also gone abroad with Ou Yuchen. When Ling Su went to stop Mu Rong Xiaoxiao, Shi Shang made a small mistake and the two of them missed each other. Host, have you heard of this saying? It's better to tear down a temple than to tear down a marriage. Why did you still do it if you knew? You'll get retribution for this. Shi Shang looked at the people standing outside the airport. He propped up his chin and laughed. It's just going abroad. It's not like they're going to heaven. If he really likes her that much, wouldn't it be easy for him to chase her abroad? Moreover, if you love someone, shouldn't you accompany them even if they're going to heaven? That's true love. You wouldn't even dare to die for the other party. What kind of true love is that? Host, there's something wrong with your view of love. Most people nowadays can't do that. So, don't blame others for tearing you apart. Blame yourself for not believing in the person you love. Then do you believe in Feng Ci? Shi Shang was silent for a moment and rolled up the car window. After a long while, the system heard her voice. He believes in me, so I believe in him. Host, you're so selfish. Shi Shang chuckled. Yes, I'm selfish. Didn't you know that from the start? It was because it knew from the start that you were still the same even after going through so many worlds that the system was very suspicious. In the scripts that it had been reading recently, The host's personality changed after going through a few worlds. She, on the other hand, didn't change at all from the beginning to the end except for Feng Ci. The system might have read a fake book. Hashtag my host is cold-blooded. Rational hashtag. Chapter 1103. In the new semester, Shi Shang didn't continue to teach that class. Instead, he taught the new students. The new students were all unruly. In the end, they were taught a few lessons by Shi Shang before they became obedient. Ling Su was still the most popular girl in the school. His relationship with Yi Jin was still neutral. Perhaps he had learned his lesson. He didn't find trouble with Shi Shang. In their third year, Ling Su had sex with Yi Jin. Yi Jin even got pregnant. Since she was already pregnant, the Ling family couldn't say anything. They could only let Ling Su marry Yi Jin. After the wedding, Ling Su and Yi Jin went abroad. However, not long after, Shi Shang heard rumors that Yi Jin had found out that Mu Rong Xiaoxiao and Ling Su had rekindled their relationship. Yi Jin was furious and wanted to kill Mu Rong Xiaoxiao. When the two were arguing, Mu Rong Xiaoxiao stabbed Yi Jin with a knife. Yi Jin didn't die, but she lost the baby and couldn't get pregnant again. After Yi Jin recovered, she suddenly became a different person. Not only did she initiate a divorce, but she also didn't pursue Mu Rong Xiaoxiao's responsibility. Yi Jin left Ling Su and lived alone. After about 2 months, Yi Jin met Mu Rong Xiaoxiao in a sorry state. Seeing Yi Jin in such a sorry state, Mu Rong Xiaoxiao's heart overflowed and she took Yi Jin back. Yi Jin complained to Mu Rong Xiaoxiao. Mu Rong Xiaoxiao blamed herself when she heard that. She even took in the homeless Yi Jin. Yi Jin made use of Mu Rong Xiaoxiao's sympathy to force Yu Chen away and set up a trap for the Murong family's company. Yi Jin played a big game. At that time, Ling Su and Mu Rong Xiaoxiao's relationship was still tense. They didn't trust each other. Yi Jin only needed to add fuel to the fire when they weren't paying attention. It was only a matter of time before they fell out. Then, the Ling family was in a crisis. Yi Jin had planned for so long and it was time to draw in the net. The Murong family couldn't even take care of themselves. Naturally, they couldn't help Ling Su. However, Yi Jin could. Yi Jin and Ling Su got back together and the Yi family helped the Ling family through the crisis. The Murong family was also finished at this time. At this time, Yi Jin was still magnanimous enough to take Mu Rong Xiaoxiao back and let her stay under Ling Yu's nose. However, Ling Yu would always see or hear some specious words, causing the distrust between them to gradually turn into hatred. Thus, when Yi Jin suggested that Mu Rong Xiaoxiao be her surrogate, Ling Su agreed without hesitation. Back then, it was Mu Rong Xiaoxiao who had caused Yi Jin to lose the chance to be a mother. How could Yi Jin let her off? After Mu Rong Xiaoxiao gave birth to the child, Yi Jin set up a trap for Ling Yu to see her and Yu Chen having sex. Mu Rong Xiaoxiao blamed Yu Chen. In the end, Yu Chen couldn't stand the completely changed Mu Rong Xiaoxiao. He gave up on Mu Rong Xiaoxiao and returned to the country alone. In the end, Mu Rong Xiaoxiao was sentenced for intentional assault. After hearing this, Shi Shang felt that he had missed a lot of drama. The supporting female lead, Yi Jin, was really awesome. Why did the female lead end up like this? The female lead was too saintly, and without the male lead's protection, it was only a matter of time before something happened. She could still sympathize with Yi Jin for treating her like that before. She didn't really understand how saints thought. Pata. Shi Shang glanced at the living room strangely. There was no one there. Yen LV should be back by now. Yen Lu. Shi Shang went upstairs to look for her but couldn't find her. Her phone was left at home. Where did this brat go? Shi Shang was about to go out to look for him when the dormitory door was pushed open. Yen LV came in from outside. His body was wet, and his hair was still dripping. Shi Shang looked outside. When did it start to rain? Teacher. Yen LV put down the things in his hands and looked at Shi Shang. Can you hug me for a while? What's wrong? I miss you. Shi Shang went over to hug him. Yen LV buried his head in her neck. His cold body pressed against hers, absorbing her warmth. He's dead. Ha! Who's dead? After a while, Shishang realized that Yen LV was talking about his grandfather. Yen LV's body temperature was getting lower and lower. Shishang was afraid that he would catch a cold, so she quickly brought him upstairs and changed him into a clean set of clothes. Yen LV let her do whatever she wanted. He lowered his head and looked at the floor expressionlessly. Shishang picked up the wet clothes and was about to take them out to wash when Yen LV suddenly grabbed her hand. "Teacher, don't go." Shishang sighed and threw the clothes on the floor. She hugged him silently. Yen LV did not sleep that night. Shishang hugged him the whole night. The next day, Shishang brought him out. Yen LV seemed to have returned to normal. "Teacher, where are we going?" "We're going to attend the funeral." Yen LV moved but did not say anything. He looked straight ahead. When they arrived at the villa, there were people everywhere. Shishang led Yen LV through the crowd and walked to the morning hall. "Young master." The bodyguard saw Yen LV and was stunned. He was still in disbelief. Before the bodyguard could finish his sentence, a woman rushed out. Her beautiful eyes were filled with hatred. She looked as if she wanted to skin Yen LV alive. "Why did you come back? Don't you think you've brought enough trouble to us? Get him out of here." The woman was about to hit Yen LV when Shishang grabbed her hand. "Who are you?" The woman was in pain. Her beautiful eyes widened and her expression was distorted. "Good, you evil creature. How dare you bring someone back to behave so atrociously? Where do you think this is?" "I didn't kill you back then, but you dare to come back." Shishang narrowed his eyes and was about to hit her when Yen LV stopped him. He walked towards the morning hall. "You evil creature, stop right there. Who let you in? Why aren't you stopping him for me?" The woman was yelling at the back. The bodyguard beside her suddenly whispered something into her ear. The woman's expression changed slightly. She glared at Yen LV and walked away in her high heels. There were still many people in the morning hall. When Yen LV walked in, the group of people's expressions turned ugly. There was a portrait in the middle of the morning hall. The old man in the portrait had a stern face. It looked a little scary. "Who is this?" "I don't know." "Do you know him?" "Is this the young master of the Yen family?" "Didn't they say he went missing? Why is he back now?" "I don't know." "Sure, we'll see later." Those who knew the situation kept quiet. Those who didn't know looked at Yen LV and the girl standing beside him in confusion. She was too flamboyant. Even in such an environment, she could be spotted at a glance. "What are you doing here?" A middle-aged man strode in from outside. Beside him was the woman from before. The middle-aged man's face was filled with anger and a trace of hatred. Yen LV didn't even raise his head. He stared intently at the portrait, as if he didn't hear the middle-aged man's voice. Asterisk, this is a fake group. "Little fairy, I want to ask, who has money? Lend me 100 yuan. Cherub. No money. Little fairy, really? Cherub. Not even a fake one? Little fairy, do you not love me anymore? Cherub. Love. Little fairy. Okay, let's prove it first. Vote first. System. Fancy vote-seeking advertisement verified. Chapter 1104. The middle-aged man was even angrier at being ignored. "Yen LV, get out of this house. You're not welcome here. Are you tired of this?" Shishang frowned at the man. He looked similar to Yen LV but was not as good-looking as Yen LV. "He's here to offer incense to his grandfather. What does that have to do with you? Why are you shouting? Are you afraid that the old man won't beat you up?" In the past, Shishang would not have cared about such things. However, this man had murderous intent towards Yen LV and was so noisy. It was annoying. "Is this the place for you to speak? Where did this wild girl come from?" The words sharp and unkind, were almost written on the woman's forehead. Yen LV suddenly looked up and the air around him turned cold. It's none of your business where she wants to say it. You. The woman seemed to be frightened by Yen LV's aura. She pinched the middle-aged man and said angrily, "Look at your son. How can he speak like that? He dares to speak like that in front of his grandfather's memorial tablet. Does he have any respect for his ancestors? Yen LV, I'll say it one last time. Get out." Yen LV retracted his gaze and let go of Shi Sheng. He smiled at her and reached for the incense on the table. The middle-aged man suddenly stepped forward and snatched the incense from the table. The veins on the back of his hand were bulging. "Yen LV, you've already been expelled from the Yen family. You have no right to be here. Get out." F*CK, where's I's sword? This retard actually asked his wife to get out. Get out of my ass. Yen LV looked at the middle-aged man calmly. I'm just offering incense. The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said, "No need." Shi Shang snatched the incense from the side and handed it to Yen LV. He pointed his sword at the middle-aged man. "If you continue to spout nonsense, I'll kill you." The moment the iron sword was drawn, the surrounding temperature became even colder. The crowd gasped and some people had already run outside. The middle-aged man was probably shocked and took a while to regain his senses. "Yen LV, how dare you allow her to be so rude in the morning hall? Do you want your grandfather to not be able to rest in peace? F*CK, can you be reasonable? You were the one who stopped I first. Otherwise, how could I cause trouble? I's performance costs millions of dollars per minute. Can you afford it? Idiot." Yen LV had already finished lighting the incense. He took out a teddy bear from his pocket and placed it in front of the portrait. He bent down slightly and remained silent for 3 seconds before he turned around and left with Shi Sheng. When he passed by the middle-aged man, he paused. "Do you think I want to step into this place? You evil creature." The middle-aged man raised his hand to hit Yen Lu, but Yen Lu grabbed his wrist lightly and flung him aside. "I'm not the Yen Lu from back then. Why didn't I choke you to death back then?" Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret. Call the police, I want to call the police, you murderer. The woman suddenly lost control. She rummaged through her handbag, and many things fell out. "I need to avenge Xiao Song. Quick, call the police. Mr. Yen, Mrs. Yen, this is old Master Yan's funeral. Don't you think it's inappropriate for you to make such a scene?" Li Cheng appeared out of nowhere, wearing a white flower on his chest. Li Cheng gave Shi Shang a look. "Why aren't you taking your man away?" Shi Shang looked at Yen Lu. Yen Lu had to be willing to leave. Yen Lu lowered his head and led Shi Shang outside. Li Cheng and the middle-aged man talked, and their voices gradually weakened. Yen Lu's mouth twitched as he walked out of the strange environment. He muttered, "Teacher, you're all I have left. I can give you the whole world. Isn't it enough to have me?" Yen Lu was stunned. Why did this conversation sound so familiar? He glanced sideways at the girl beside him. She gave him a faint smile. Yen LV smiled in relief. As long as she was here. Yen Lu brought Shi Shang overseas. The two of them settled in a small town with beautiful scenery. There were many tourists here every day. One day, Shi Shang saw Lin Qianlong among the tourists. She seemed to have come specially to look for her. She placed a box outside her house and left without looking back. Shi Shang took the box into the house. Yen Lu immediately came over. "Who sent this?" "Lin Qianlong." Shi Shang opened the box. There was a CD inside. There was only a CD and nothing else. Shi Shang inserted the disc into the DVD player. After a burst of static, a string of musical notes began to play. It was the song she had played at the anniversary celebration. The difference was that there was an extra part at the end. It was very gentle and was completely different from the previous one. Shi Shang listened to it once. He took the CD out and put it back into the box. "Throw it away." Yen Lu took the box. Does this song have any special meaning? Shi Shang was silent for a while. Then he said in a low voice, "It's a war song. May you shine like the stars and moon. May you shock the mountains and rivers. May heaven and earth submit to you. May you shine like the stars. May you be invincible. May you be famous forever. May you shine like the sea of stars. May you be glorious forever." Is it important to you? Shi Shang tilted his head and supported his chin with one hand. It's not important. Yen Lu didn't ask any more questions. He took the box and left. Shi Shang closed his eyes when he left. When he opened them again, they were cold as usual. Shi Shang accompanied Yen Lu until they were old. When she returned to the system space, the system was afraid that Shi Shang would cause trouble. It refreshed the information without saying anything. Name, Shi Shang character points, 349000 health points, 50 contribution points, 65800 mission level, B mission score, 96 hidden mission, completed hidden mission reward, 2000 contribution points item list, Queen's Crown, Ghost King's Heart, Dark Knight, Kirin Blood, Shi Shang. Butt face, you're deducting my character points again. You don't care anyway. What does it matter if I deduct your character points? Butt face, you bastard. I'm not butt face. Shi Shang's mouth twitched. What's the lower limit this time? Unable to view due to insufficient authority. How could Master not be prepared for this kind of thing? You're too naive. Shi Shang. The naive system lost a few more functions. The system was also in despair. It had a feeling that it had no idea when its master had added those functions. Host, what are you thinking about? Shi Shang sneered. I'm thinking that your master really put in a lot of effort. The system was dumbfounded. What is master talking about? Shi Shang waved his hand disdainfully. Forget it. You won't understand even if I explain it to an idiot like you. Shi Shang's eyes darkened. Many people knew that song, but the last part was never made public. Only a few people knew about it. Does he think that he can mess with me like this? How naive. Oh my God, Master looks so scary. Master, what did you do? Next world. Initializing teleportation. The system quickly sent him away. It was too scary. Asterisk the 30-second world ended. Yen Lu's background was outside of this world. There was a bug yesterday. I've already fixed it. So don't ask me why I have 2 fiancés. Because I'm retarded. For those who didn't see the changes, don't ask anymore. It's either a fake or pirated version. Please use QQ to read and watch. Chapter 1105. When he was very young, Yen LV could feel that he wasn't welcome in that family. The only family he felt was his grandfather. When Yen LV was born, his mother passed away, so his father didn't like him very much. That was what he thought before he was 5 years old. When he was 5 years old, he remembered very clearly that when he came back from school, there were many people in the house. Before he entered the house, the nanny took him to the back door. Young master, there's a guest in front of Mr. You can do your homework here first. When Mr.'s guest leaves, you can go over, okay? The nanny said to him. Yen LV nodded in a daze and asked in a young voice, What guest? The nanny looked at him deeply and rubbed his head. Young master, you're still young. Don't ask any more and do your homework obediently. At that time, Yen LV didn't know that it was pity. He stayed at the back for a long time, but no one came to call him back. He was cold and hungry, so he sneaked into the living room from the kitchen. The living room was very warm. Yen LV carefully looked for his father in the crowd. His father was wearing a suit and stood in the middle of the crowd. Beside him was a young woman. The woman held his father's arm and smiled. The two of them looked very intimate. The woman was holding a child who looked about his age. Young master, why are you here? The nanny from before saw him and carried him into the kitchen quickly. She brought him back to the room. Young master, stay here for a while. Don't go out, okay? Why? Yen LV didn't understand. Who's the woman beside Dad? The nanny sighed. Young master, don't ask anymore. She turned and left the room. Yen LV heard the sound of the door being locked. He ran to open the door and sure enough, it was locked. Yen LV waited in the room until the sky turned dark, but it was getting quieter outside. There was no one. He tried to knock on the door, but no one responded. The nanny was tired from the day. After packing, she couldn't open her eyes and forgot about Yen LV. Yen LV was locked up for a night. The next day, the nanny remembered and hurried to find Yen LV. After being locked up for a night, Yen Lu started to have a high fever. When he was sent to the hospital, he almost received a notice of critical illness. In the end, Yen Lu pulled through. Where's Dad? Yen LV lay on the bed. Why didn't he come to see me? The nanny put down the soup. She didn't know how to answer Yen LV and could only remain silent. Yen LV continued asking, Does Daddy not want me anymore? The nanny couldn't bear it. It's nothing. Young master, don't think too much. Sir is just busy. When he's done, he'll come and see you. Really? The nanny nodded with difficulty. It's true. But Yen LV didn't see his father until he was discharged from the hospital. On the day he was discharged from the hospital, his grandfather came. Yen Lu was a little afraid of this grandfather. He always felt that his grandfather had a straight face and was very serious. Little Louis, have you recovered? Much, much better, Yen LV replied with his head lowered as he shrank into a corner of the car. A small bear suddenly appeared in front of him. Yen LV raised his head to look at the old man opposite him. The old man still had a straight face. I saw it on the way here. For me? Yen LV asked carefully. Yes, for little Louis. Yen LV thought he saw the old man smile. When he took a closer look, the old man's face was still serious. He must have been mistaken. Yen LV took the bear. Thank you, grandfather. The old man sighed and patted his head. Then, he didn't say anything else. When Yen LV returned to the villa, he saw the woman who was standing beside his father. She was holding the boy's hand as they came out. She looked at him condescendingly and disdainfully. Little Song, stay away from him in the future, okay? Mommy, is he my brother? What brother? He's not worthy. The woman snorted and left with the boy. Yen LV tightened his grip on the bear and returned to his room. Yen Song was the child that the woman had brought. She said that he was her ex-husband's child. Later, Yen LV found out that it wasn't. He was his father's child with her. That was just a cover-up. When he found out about this, he was 14. Ever since that woman married his father, his life in the Yen family became worse. Yen Song knew how to talk and make his father happy. He had tried before, but his father would look at him with disgust every time. It was as if he was something dirty. When Yen Song and that woman bullied him, his father could only turn a blind eye. Yen LV learned to be invisible at home and ignore their mockery. The more he ignored them, the more they wanted a yard. But if he resisted, his father would definitely be angry. He could only endure it. That night, he came back late. He was afraid that his father and that woman would find out, so he deliberately lowered his footsteps. Then, he heard that incident. Yen Song was his father's biological child, and that woman was the person that his father truly loved. His mother was just a woman who had used tricks to marry into the Yen family. His father hated her, so he hated him too. He didn't know where Yen Song had heard about this and came over to mock him. At the age of 14, he was young and impulsive. Yen LV hit Yen Song. That wasn't the first time Yen LV hit someone, but it was the best time he had ever hit someone. But he was also beaten up by his father and had to lie in bed for a month. That was how he and Yen Song became enemies. Usually in school, Yen Song would bring people to surround him and beat him up. He didn't want to be beaten up, so he learned to resist. But he still lost. Little bastard. Pfft. Yen Song kicked Yen LV, his face full of disgust. Look at your own status. How dare you go against me? Yen LV wanted to get up, but he couldn't. His whole body was in pain. He could only watch as Yen Song left with his men. That was also the first time Yen LV saw her. She rode past him on her bicycle. After a while, she slowly came back. She observed for a while, as if to see if there was anyone nearby. She dawdled for a long time before walking over and helping him up. Her voice was very soft and had a hint of fear. Are you okay? He was already beaten up like this, but she still asked if he was okay. At that time, Yen LV felt that there was something wrong with this girl's brain and didn't want to talk to her. Hey, say something. Let me help you up first. Yen LV didn't want to talk. No matter how the girl called him, he didn't respond. The girl brought him to a clinic. She rummaged in her bag for a long time before she managed to gather $100. The people at the clinic seemed to know her and didn't care much. He heard the doctor call her Jen Inan. Yen LV didn't take this incident to heart. He left the moment she left. When he left the money for the doctor to pass to her. Chapter 1106. Grandpa, I got first place today. Really? Let me see. Not bad. Back at the villa, he heard Yen Song's voice as soon as he entered. Yen LV lowered his head and walked in. Little LV. Grandpa's voice suddenly sounded. Yen LV could only walk to the living room. He lowered his head and called out softly, Grandpa. Yen LV's father was also in the living room. Seeing that he was covered in dirt, he frowned and scolded. What happened? Why did you come back like this? I sent you to school to study, not to fight. Yen LV stood with his head lowered. His fine hair covered the emotions in his eyes. He had experienced such things too many times and didn't care anymore. He glanced at Yen Song from the corner of his eye. He was hugging his papers and smiling proudly. He didn't need to think to know what he was thinking. Speak. Are you mute? Yen LV's father was furious. Say what? Yen LV looked up. Yen LV's father suddenly slapped him in the face. With a loud slap, the entire room seemed to quiet down. His scolding was deafening. Look at you now. Your brother always gets first place in the cohort. What about you? You're like a hooligan all day long. Where's your report card? I threw it away. Yen LV's father was so angry that his face turned red. Little Song, how many marks did he get this time? Brother didn't take the exam, Yen Song answered obediently. Yen LV looked at him coldly. At home, Yen Song always looked like an obedient child. But they didn't know what Yen Song was doing outside. Yen LV thought it was a little funny. Hearing Yen Song's words, Yen LV's father was even angrier. Why didn't he take the exam? Yen LV was silent. His face was burning with pain, but he only felt a coldness that came from his bones. Yen LV's attitude made Yen LV's father furious. Grandpa Yen stopped Yen LV's father, who was about to hit him, and scolded him with a sullen face. He's your child too. He's considered. Yen LV's father's voice stopped abruptly. He glared at Yen LV and turned to Yen Song. His tone suddenly became gentle. Little Song, follow me to the study. Yen Song nodded obediently and left with his father. When he passed Yen LV's father, he gave him a gloating look. Yen LV pretended not to see it. Only Yen LV and Grandpa Yen were left in the living room. Grandpa Yen didn't say anything. He just looked at him for a while before leaving with his men. At that time, Yen LV was wondering if he was disappointed. He stood in the living room for a long time, so long that his legs were numb, but he still couldn't come up with an answer. The real incident happened on the day of Grandpa Yan's 70th birthday. All these years, the only person he cared about was his grandfather, although it was only occasionally. He picked out a gift for Grandpa Yen and prepared to give it to him at the birthday banquet. When the birthday banquet was about to start, he realized that the gift was gone. He searched many places but to no avail. At this time, Yen Song happened to be giving his grandfather a gift, and that gift happened to be his. He didn't fly into a rage on the spot and allowed Yen Song to mock and ridicule him. When the banquet was about to end, Yen Lu invited Yen Song to the swimming pool at the back. Initially, he only wanted to beat Yen Song up. However, when they were fighting, Yen Song pushed him into the pool and even wanted to drown him. Yen Song was dead. That woman wanted him to pay with his life. His father didn't say anything and beat him up first. That was the first time he fought back against his father. He had enough of them. In the end, he wasn't sent to the police station. Grandpa Yen bailed him out. However, he had nothing to do with the Yen family from then on. He was chased out of the Yen family. You don't believe me either? The youngster stood in the heavy rain, his entire body drenched. He stopped the car and stubbornly asked the old man in the car. The rain blocked the old man's face. Yen Lv couldn't see it clearly. He only remembered what he said. Leave this place and don't come back. He left. According to Grandpa Yan's arrangements, he stayed abroad for a few years. However, he still came back. He didn't know why, but it was as if something had guided him back. He didn't alert anyone when he returned. He wandered outside for a long time. He didn't know what he was looking for, but his instincts told him that he must have found something. The next time he saw her was at Inglan's school gate. She stood at the school gate and looked up at Inglan's gate. He didn't know what she was looking at. She only left when the sky turned dark. Yen Lv followed her all the way. He knew that she was looking for a job, but she couldn't find one. Yen Lv thought of a way to get her a job application at Inglan. Inglan's job application was the first threshold. It was equivalent to an invitation. Only teachers who received the job application could apply for the job. At that time, Yen Lv didn't expect her to apply. At that time, Yen Lv didn't feel that she was different. He helped her as a way of returning the favor for sending him to the clinic. She was able to enter Inglan because of her own ability. Hence, Yen Lv didn't pay attention to her after that. But that time on the rooftop, Yen Lv knew that he had found what he was looking for. They were clearly the same person, but she gave him a completely different feeling. She was like a light, attracting him like a moth to a flame. Actually, the rooftop's door could be opened. The door itself was broken. After she left, he went up and locked the door. There was no reason. He just wanted to teach the person who bullied her a lesson. After that, Yen Lv moved to her dormitory. When they met officially for the first time, he could clearly feel her murderous intent towards him. After that, he didn't feel it anymore. Instead, he felt an indescribable emotion. She would always look at him without restraint, as if she was thinking about something. He liked it when her gaze was on him. But sometimes, he felt that he was very far away from her. It was as if they were separated by 1,000 mountains and 10,000 forests. It was very unreal. Yen Lv didn't like this feeling. He wanted to have her, completely. She said that he liked cute and obedient girls. It was impossible for him to be cute. After all, they had been together for so many years. But he could be obedient. If she liked it, then he would do it. When he kissed her that time, Yen Lv was very nervous, but he still did it. After that time, he could clearly feel that she was not so guarded against him. Although she would still beat him, she would not leave after every beating. She would take note of the food he didn't like to eat. At night, she would wait for him to come back before going to sleep. She would smile at him casually. That kind of smile was something he had never seen after getting close to her. It was very gentle. It was so gentle that he wanted to drown in it and never wake up. Just keep your sharp claws in front of me. I don't want you to be controlled by others outside. My future is only with you. I will always be by your side. If she likes it, then I will give it to her. I am willing to keep all my sharp claws and live under your wings. Yen Lv. Chapter 1107. The host was dead. The cause of death was the same. Strangled. The female lead didn't say that she saw the criminal that night. She chose to hide it. The female lead didn't save her and led the criminal to someone else. Then she hid the truth. This proved that this was a dark novel. The host hadn't found her identity yet. She wanted to know who she was. She wanted to leave the hospital and go outside. She didn't want to die like this, so it was normal for her to have resentment. The host had a lot of wishes. She wanted to find out who she was, catch the criminal to avenge herself, leave the hospital, and live a normal life. As for the female lead, she didn't know if it was because she had too many wishes that the host forgot about them. Shi Shang received the plot and only wanted to say 2 words. Fuck. These were the words host. Remove the 2 words in the middle. Host, you're swearing. I didn't say anything. Don't be so dirty. Calm down, calm down. The host can lie through her teeth easily. Why bother with her? It needed to go offline. Shi Shang walked around the ward. Thanks to the host's violence, she had a room to herself. Normal lunatics who were not aggressive usually stayed in a room with 2 or 3 people. The host could live here for so long. It proved that someone paid for it. The cost of a mental hospital was huge. Normal people couldn't afford it. Although the host didn't have memories before she was 18, some instincts didn't need to be remembered. From her habits, she had been trained in etiquette. Shi Shang was already imagining a million words of love and hatred in his mind. This was a cannon fodder with a story. Okay, she didn't understand what the system added. None of the cannon fodder she took over didn't have a story. Life was full of drama. The little tadpole should find its mother slowly. She had to deal with the idiot who wanted to kill her first. This building had a total of 8 floors. The 5th floor and above was filled with aggressive psychopaths. She just happened to live on the boundary of the 5th floor, and the original owner's aggression was relatively strong. She was still able to move because she was awake for more time than when she was sick. It could be seen how scary the people living on the 3rd floor were. My child, don't be afraid. Mommy is coming to save you. You have to wait for Mommy. A man stood in the corridor, affectionately performing to the painting on the wall. Shi Shang stood there for a while and said, "You're a man. You should say, Daddy." The man turned his head and seemed to be thinking about Shi Shang's words. The next second, he suddenly sat down on the ground. "You're a bad guy. Daddy, save me. Daddy, there's a bad guy here. Come and chase the bad guy away." Shi Shang walked forward silently. He was not going to argue with a lunatic. "Son, you are my son. If I plant you in the ground, you will produce many sons next year." Shi Shang got a kettle out of nowhere and handed it to the woman who spoke. "You need to water it." Yes, water him." The woman took the kettle and poured water on the head of the squatting man. "There's going to be an earthquake tomorrow. Run. There was an earthquake yesterday. You died." Shi Shang walked over calmly. The man suddenly fell to the ground and muttered, I'm dead. Shi Shang went down to the ground floor. There were even more lunatics downstairs. Shi Shang had a foul mouth and would say a few words when he passed by. Everywhere he passed, there was chaos. Other than quarreling and fighting, the nurses usually did not care. Therefore, no one cared about those lunatics who cried, laughed, and screamed. "Where's my dragon throne?" Shi Shang turned his head and asked a nurse who was supporting a patient. The nurse was young and probably had not been here for long. After seeing who it was, she quickly helped the patient to the side and sat down. "I'll go get it for you." Shi Shang glared at her. "You have to call me Emperor." "Nurse, don't argue with a lunatic, don't argue with a lunatic, don't argue with a lunatic, don't argue with a lunatic." After the nurse recited the first rule of the hospital 3 times in her heart, she smiled. "Your Majesty, I'll get you the dragon throne now. Go." Shi Shang waved his hand. The nurse quickly came back with a chair. According to Emperor Shang's instructions, she placed it in a place where it could bask in the sun. Shang lay down and did not move. The nurse heaved a sigh of relief. This person looked scary when he had a relapse. It was better when he was not. He looked quite normal. Well, now that he was normal, he did not look so normal. She had to tell the doctor that this person's condition was serious again. The nurse observed Shang for a while and called him twice. When he did not move, she left to take care of other patients. Not long after the nurse left, a figure crept near Shang. She carefully approached Shang and called him softly. An-chi, wake up. After calling him twice, there was no response. She reached out to push Shang. Just as her fingers touched him, the person on the chair suddenly grabbed her hand. Someone, there's an assassin. Shang's voice was very loud. The nurse, who did not dare to go far, heard the voice and immediately came over. What's wrong? Xiao Lu, what are you doing here? You knew that this person was going to beat someone up. Why did you still get close to him? To outsiders, Sula had a mental problem, but no one knew what it was. But in the nurse's eyes, Sulu was probably the most normal person among these lunatics. Shang grabbed Sulu. She has bad intentions towards me. Do you think she's taken a liking to me? You are both women. Don't think that you have something to say just because you keep calling me. Your Majesty, she just accidentally walked into the wrong room. I'll take her away now, the nurse said as she went to pull Sulu. Shang did not force her. If you dare to show up in front of me again, I'll beat you up every time I see you. Yes, Your Majesty. We'll leave now. The nurse pulled Sulu away. Sulu looked at Shang strangely. She asked the nurse, "What's wrong with An-chi?" The nurse pointed at her head. Her condition might have worsened. Don't go to her. She has a relapse. It's very dangerous. Sulu was stunned. Could it be that what happened last night had worsened her condition? Thinking of what happened last night, Su Li's expression changed. She looked at Shang. She had to find a chance to ask him about it. Sulu chatted with the nurse for a while. The nurse had other patients to take care of, so she did not have time to chat with her. Sulu carefully moved towards Shang. Shang glanced at her from the corner of his eye, then closed his eyes and ignored her. The more the female lead collapses, the better. It'll be easier for me to kill you. Host, do you know that your thoughts are very dangerous? Didn't you go offline? Can't I go online? If you go up and down a few more times, maybe you won't have the final say when you go online or when you go offline. Master, this system is going to self-destruct. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little Fairy, I've been so busy recently. You guys don't even vote for me. Cherub, I can't see you don't want to vote. Little Fairy, I didn't expect you guys to love me so much. I'm so touched. Cherub, you're thinking too much. I just can't argue with you. I don't want to vote. Little Fairy, friend, goodbye. Chapter 1108. Sula finally moved to Shang's side. Before she could say anything, the person who had been lying down just now stood up and walked straight to the flower beds in the distance. Sula glanced at the nurse and gritted her teeth as she followed. The flower beds were piled up one after another. Soon, the nurse's line of sight was blocked. In the blink of an eye, the person who had been in front of Sulu had disappeared. She took a few quick steps forward. Suddenly, a black figure jumped out of the flower bed in front of her and threw her into the flower bed beside it. There were thorny roses in the flower bed. The sharp thorns pierced her back and she felt a sharp pain. However, this pain was nothing compared to the fear in her heart. A clear voice sounded above her head. "Why are you following me?" Sulu turned her head and saw a familiar face. Unlike before, the expression on her face was exceptionally cold. She looked like a cold-blooded murderer she had met a long time ago. The nurse had said that her condition had worsened. It seemed that it was true. "An-chi, don't be nervous. I'm Sulu." Sulu wasn't sure if she had seen her clearly last night, so she was testing the waters. Shishang grabbed Su Li's neck. I'm asking you why you're following me. Are you trying to kill me? Her hand was cold and smelled like mud. Sulu felt that it wasn't a hand that was strangling her, but a poisonous snake that could strangle her at any time. No, I'm not. I just want to talk to you. Su Li's voice was distorted. What do I have to talk to you about? Are you crazy? Shishang continued to strangle her. Su Li's eyes almost rolled back. You're the one who's crazy. Of course, she couldn't say this out loud. If she said it, she would go crazy and die. Shishang narrowed her eyes. If she strangled the female lead here. Hey, what are you doing? Shishang. A nurse ran over from afar. When she saw the situation in the flower bed, she immediately scolded Shishang. What are you doing? Anqi, come down. Shishang was unmoved. Anqi, do you want to starve again? The nurse threatened Shishang. Shishang rolled his eyes at her and punched the female lead in front of the nurse. Then, he slowly walked down the stairs. Ah! Sulu covered his face as the taste of blood filled his mouth. This lunatic. When the nurse saw Shishang, she stepped back in fear. She was probably afraid that Shishang would hit her. Shishang raised his fist at her. The nurse was so scared that she covered her head, screamed, and hid on the other side of the flower bed. After Shishang left arrogantly, the nurse breathed a sigh of relief. She hurriedly called the other nurses and asked them to bring the tranquilizer to find the patient so that he wouldn't hurt the other patients. After the nurse finished the call, she went to the flower bed to check on Sulu. Sulu pressed down on a patch of roses, and his back was already bleeding. Xiao Lu, how did you provoke her? Sulu sucked in a cold breath and felt depressed. I just said a few words to her. Who knew that she would suddenly attack me? I'll take you to the doctor first. Don't get close to her in the future. The nurse had seen more vicious people than Shishang, so she didn't think it was a big deal. Isn't Chi's illness getting worse? Sulu pretended to ask casually. The doctor is going to do a test later. If it's really getting worse, we'll have to send her to the 6th floor. Usually, Sulu got along well with these nurses, so the nurses treated it as if they were just chatting with Sulu. The patients on the 5th floor could still move around because they would only be aggressive when they had an attack. They weren't particularly vicious. As long as the nurse took good care of them, there wouldn't be any problems. Things were different above the 6th floor. There was a metal door on the 6th floor. The patients on the 6th floor were not allowed to go downstairs. Some patients could move around in the corridor, while others could only be locked in their rooms. That's strange. Officer Zhou hasn't come today. I'm always worried that we can't catch the culprit after such a thing happened in the hospital. The nurse changed the topic. Sulu didn't change her mind. She just followed the nurse's words. When Shishang returned to her room, her attending doctor arrived. His surname was Yen. He was quite handsome, but a little old. He was already married. However, according to the lunatics in the hospital, this Dr. Yen seemed to have an improper relationship with a young nurse in the hospital. Lunatics' words couldn't be trusted. Sometimes, lunatics could be normal. They would squat in all kinds of corners and let the nurses find them for fun. Therefore, it wasn't strange to see them. Did you hit someone again today? Dr. Yen didn't do a checkup first. Instead, he chatted with Shishang. Shishang sat cross-legged on the bed. He raised his chin slightly and looked like he was the most powerful person in the world. I'm the emperor. What's wrong with hitting someone? I'm already being merciful by not implicating their entire family. Dr. Yen sized up Shishang and raised a finger. What's this? 3. What about this? 5. Retard. Dr. Yen. Being called a retard by a lunatic was also a sweet experience. Dr. Yen took a deep breath. Lie down on the bed. What are you doing? I don't want you to sleep with me. Shishang covered his lapel with a guarded expression. Let me do a checkup for you. Your Majesty should take care of yourself, right? You can't fall sick. If you don't do a checkup, you'll fall sick. Dr. Yen was obviously experienced in dealing with patients. I won't do it. You want to take this opportunity to harm me? Get out. Shishang grabbed the pillow next to him and threw it at Dr. Yen. Tranquilizer, Dr. Yen ordered the nurse behind him. The nurse immediately took out the tranquilizer. This time, 2 nurses came forward together. It was obvious that they wanted to be strong. So what if you have a tranquilizer? When the first nurse tried to grab her, Shishang grabbed her hand and pressed her down on the bed. He snatched the tranquilizer from the other nurse's hand and inserted it into the nurse's butt. Ah! After a short scream, the nurse collapsed on the bed. Everyone, was her illness serious enough to be quarantined? Shishang flipped his hair and looked at Dr. Yen. Aren't you going to do a checkup? You're not going to do it? Was she back to normal? Dr. Yen called out tentatively, and she? What? Dr. Yen waved his hand and motioned for the nurse behind him to calm down. He asked Shishang a few questions and made sure that she was back to normal. Then he began the checkup. Dr. Yen didn't say anything to Shishang on the spot, but when the nurses left, they looked at Shishang strangely. These people probably wanted her to be locked up upstairs. After all, she would act up and hit people from time to time. It was dangerous to be with her. You never knew when she would hit you. After the nurses left, Shishang locked the door. There were surveillance cameras in the room, so she hid in the toilet. She took out a phone. The screensaver was a cute child with a bright smile. He was innocent and romantic. She had taken it from Dr. Yen. Staying here was no different from being in jail. There were no electronic devices at all. Chapter 1109. Shishang turned on the hotspot on his phone and took out his tablet. He tried to connect it before he started typing away. She didn't have much time. The doctor would definitely call when he realized that his phone was missing. Sure enough, a call came in a few minutes later. She had just put the tablet back when the door opened. And she? Dr. Yan's voice came from outside. Where is she? She should be in the toilet. The nurse's voice was close to the toilet. Before she could open the toilet, the door opened and Shishang stood inside. What are you doing? Why do you care when I'm taking a dump? Dr. Yen was speechless. She's acting up again. I can't argue with a psychopath. Dr. Yen took a deep breath. And Chi, did you see my phone? This. Shishang waved the phone in his hand. Dr. Yan's heart skipped a beat. His phone should have been in his pocket. When did she take it? Of course, now was not the time to think about this. He had to take the phone back. He calmed himself down and tried to maintain the smile on his face. Yes, it's mine. Can you give it back? Shishang came online. You think it's yours just because you say so? Everything here belongs to me. Who are you to say that it's yours? Dr. Yen was speechless. Shishang was standing outside the toilet so they couldn't do anything. Dr. Yen could only say sullenly, You gave it to me. Did you forget? Shishang shouted, Bullshit. I don't even have this thing. Why would I give it to you? Dr. Yan's mouth twitched. He pointed at the phone. Open it and see. My photo is inside. Why is your photo in it? Because it's my phone. My photo in it proves that it's mine. Dr. Yan's expression cracked, but he wasn't as nervous as before. It's really yours? Dr. Yen nodded. It's mine. Shishang glanced at the phone and threw it to Dr. Yen. Dr. Yen caught it in a hurry and didn't let it fall to the ground. You can leave. Shishang waved his hand like an emperor. Dr. Yen was speechless. Dr. Yen was beyond cure. Dr. Yen checked the phone to make sure there were no strange marks before he left with the nurses. Dr. Yen, what about Chi's illness? The nurse asked Dr. Yen carefully. Dr. Yen looked into the room through the glass on the door. The girl was sitting in the middle of the room with her head lowered. Her hair covered her face. Dr. Yen retracted his gaze. Let's wait for the results. Shi Shang definitely did not know the results of the examination. After all, she was a psychopath in their eyes. Who would talk to a psychopath about these things? However, she had been moved to the 6th floor, which meant that her condition had worsened. Compared to the 5th floor, the 6th floor was even more lifeless. Shi Shang walked down the corridor and saw a patient in a hospital gown sitting on a chair, staring blankly at the ceiling. Beside him stood a male caregiver wearing a face mask. The rooms next to them were all closed. From the observation window, they could see that some of the rooms were occupied while others were empty. Shi Shang's room was near the end of the corridor, and the nurses moved her things upstairs. The head nurse stood at the door and said to a man dressed as a nurse, "She's awake sometimes. When she's awake, you can let her out to move around, but you have to be careful at all times. If she says she's sick, then she's sick." The nurse flipped through the information. Got it. The nurses left the room. The male nurse looked at Shi Shang for a while before leaving and closing the door behind him. It was finally King quiet. The 5th floor was like a wet market. At night, they could hear the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves. Shi Shang sat on the bed under the blanket. First, he had to find the murderer who killed the original owner. At that time, he was wearing a nurse's uniform. Since he was able to appear here at night, he was most likely a nurse. It was a pity that he did not see what he looked like. There were many male nurses in this mental hospital. After all, sometimes when the patients were sick, they needed a man to subdue them. Shi Shang curled up under the blanket and connected to the hospital's network with a tablet. He directly hacked into the hospital's database. He searched for the original owner's information. It was similar to what the original owner had seen. There were only medical records and some unimportant information. There was not even a contact's phone number. Since he did not find anything, Shi Shang began to search for information on the nurses. This hospital was quite rich. There were dozens of nurses who had signed contracts with the hospital, not to mention some short-term workers. Short-term workers were hired when the hospital was too busy. They were paid on an hourly basis. There were so many nurses. Shi Shang searched for a long time and picked out a total of 6 nurses who looked similar to the one she had seen that day. Shi Shang looked at the photos one by one. She covered their faces and looked at their eyes. However, none of them matched the pair of eyes she saw that day. How can there be none of them? Shi Shang flipped through the photos and compared all the male nurses' photos. None of them matched the one she saw. This did not make sense. She could not have remembered wrongly. If she did not remember wrongly, then that man might not be a nurse. If he was not a nurse, did he sneak in? Shi Shang hacked into the surveillance system to check the surveillance footage of that day. The surveillance footage in the staircase showed that she was dragged to the stairwell by the man. After she kicked the door open, the man stumbled down the stairs. When he reached the 2nd floor, the surveillance footage there seemed to be broken. There was no trace of the man after that. The murderer called for help at that time. The people in the hospital must know him. Otherwise, he would not have dared to call for help. Do I have to ask the nurses who was the one who was beaten up by me that day? Shi Shang lifted the blanket and sat up. It seemed that she could do that. She walked to the door and pulled it open. However, there was a nurse standing outside the door. The nurse looked at her cautiously. "What's the matter?" Shi Shang replied calmly, "Go down and get some sunlight." "You can't go down." The 6th floor had its own rules. The patients here were only allowed to move around in the corridor. They were not allowed to go downstairs. "I'm very conscious now." The nurse shook her head formally. "That's not okay. The sunlight can reach there. You go there." The nurse pointed to a relatively large balcony. At this time, the sunlight was shining on it and one could feel its warmth from afar. There were already 2 people in hospital gowns on the balcony. One of them was sitting on a chair against the wall, shaking his head and talking about something. The other was standing in front of a plant, playing a game of you shoot, I shoot with the plant. The two nurses stood outside the balcony and looked at them. Shi Shang was about to look away when the patient who was still sitting suddenly stood up and pounced on the other patient. He was still shouting, "I told you to shut up. Shut up. Don't you understand? You're disturbing my thinking. Shut up. I told you to shut up." The patient who was being attacked did not want to be outdone. He picked up his partner, a tree branch, and stuffed it into the patient's mouth. Shi Shang took a step back. "That's so King cruel. Are you sure you want me to stay with them?" Shi Shang turned to ask the nurse. Chapter 11:10. The nurse was already used to this. Her face was expressionless under the mask. "You're alone now." The nurse pulled the two of them apart and escorted them back to their respective rooms. Only the leaves that the psychopath had pulled off were left on the balcony. Shi Shang was speechless. She might have dug a pit for herself. Forget it. She would deal with whatever came her way. Shi Shang walked towards the balcony. When she passed by one of the rooms, she saw the nurse injecting a patient with something like a tranquilizer. The patient struggled a few times and soon calmed down. Then, Shi Shang saw the nurse kick the patient to vent her anger a few times before carrying him to the hospital bed. It was common to be bullied by the staff in a mental hospital. Shi Shang was speechless. "Police, I want to call the police. Someone is abusing a patient here. It's too cruel." The nurse behind Shi Shang saw her staring at the room. She went forward and pulled the door to block Shi Shang's view. These nurses must be in cahoots. Scary. Shi Shang calmly looked away and walked towards the balcony. As soon as she stepped into the sunlight, the chill on her body disappeared. It was warm and comfortable. Shi Shang leaned on the balcony and looked down. There were many people moving around in the courtyard. There were all kinds of people shouting. Some were running around with bedsheets wrapped around their bodies. The nurses were chasing after them. Some were hugging a tree and rubbing against it. Demons were dancing around. Shi Shang looked around and her gaze fell on Su Lu in the corner. A tall man was standing in front of her. This man was Zhou Ning. Zhou Ning looked a little haggard. He didn't even shave and kept smoking. There were cigarette butts all over the floor. There was no progress in the case at the hospital. Only Su Lu and Shi Shang knew about what happened that night. It seemed that she didn't tell Zhou Ning about it. What was the female lead trying to do? Zhou Ning put out the cigarette butt, patted Su Li's shoulder, and left. Su Lu stood there for a while, then turned and went inside. Shi Shang retracted her gaze. The moment she turned around, she was met with a pale face. Shi Shang took a step back. "Who are you?" Damn it, when did he stand behind her? He didn't even make a sound. He scared her to death. There was a man in a white coat standing opposite him. A doctor? However, his face was frighteningly pale. He didn't look like a normal person at all. He went downstairs. "Catch him quickly." A voice came from the balcony upstairs. The nurse who was watching over the Shi Shang also came forward at this time. She had probably received the news from the higher-ups and was ready to catch the man. The man glanced at the Shi Shang and quickly jumped down from the balcony. The nurse caught nothing. He climbed up the balcony and looked down. The man was like Spider-Man. He went downstairs in a few moves and quickly disappeared from their sight. Shi Shang turned to the nurse and asked, "Is there such a patient in your hospital? Are the patients nowadays so King amazing?" The nurse was also a little confused. "I don't think so. Hidden mission. Forsake the darkness for the light. Help the mission target walk towards the light." Shi Shang. What the hell? What did it mean to help the mission target walk towards the light? According to the literal meaning, all he had to do was stand under the sun, right? The point was, who the CK was the mission target. There used to be a name, but now there was no name? Butt face, you've changed. Your butt face. The system wanted to remind Shi Shang, but after hearing her call him butt face, the system decided to go offline. Where is he? Several people came out of the corridor and asked the nurse next to Shi Shang. The nurse pointed in the direction where the man had disappeared. He ran that way. Without another word, the nurses ran back to catch the escaped criminal. Ah, no, the patient. Who is that man? The appearance of this man just now meant that the hidden mission had appeared. The nurse was also confused. I don't know him. I've never seen him before. When did the 7th floor take in such a powerful patient? Shi Shang heard that the patient had been caught. He had just been brought in yesterday. Who knew that he was so powerful? Shi Shang tried to browse the plot again. There was no other information except for the male and female leads. Rubbish system. The system got shot even though it was lying down. The patient was locked up on the 8th floor. The 8th floor was a living prison. There were iron bars everywhere. It was harder to climb up than to climb to the sky. Shi Shang gave up looking for the patient on the 8th floor and decided to deal with the murderer first. Shi Shang had been acting like a normal person for the past few days. He didn't get sick even once. With Dr. Yan's permission, the nurse allowed him to move freely in the corridor. Shi Shang was squatting next to the nurse and chatting with him. Your job is like this all day long. Isn't it annoying? It's all about supporting the family. Compared to other places, the salary here is the highest. Have you all signed a contract with the hospital? Long-term workers like us definitely have to sign a contract. The nurse suddenly scolded and rushed out. Don't disturb official business. Put that thing down. There were 2 patients on duty who were tormenting the green potted plant in the corridor. Crash. The potted plant was not spared. There was only 1 nurse, but there were 2 people on the other side. They scratched and scratched at him. One of the patients even grabbed the soil on the ground and stuffed it into the nurse's mouth. Shi Shang. It's really scary. I'm scared to death. The patient who stuffed the nurse's mouth with soil was obviously the patient who grabbed a tree branch and stuffed it into the patient's mouth. Shi Shang knew him. He lived next door. His name was Lu Yong. He felt like he was a plant, and he talked to the plant all day long. He was a late-stage psychopath. There was no hope. Help. The nurse was pressed to the ground. He grabbed a patient's hand and shouted in the direction of the corridor. The other patient was holding a broken piece of porcelain and was about to smash it on the nurse's head. TSK. TSK. If the nurse was smashed to death, there shouldn't be any criminal liability, right? No, if the nurse was smashed to death, who would talk to her about information? It was not easy for her to get familiar with the nurse. It would be troublesome for her to get familiar with the new nurse. Shi Shang hurried forward to grab the patient's collar and pulled him aside. She lifted her leg and kicked Lu Yong off the caregiver. The caregiver immediately called for help through the walkie-talkie when his hands and feet were free. It happened to be the time for a shift change. One of the patients on duty with the nurse happened to go to the toilet. That was why this happened. When the people on the other side arrived and dragged the 2 patients back to the room, the nurse heaved a sigh of relief. He thanked Shi Shang. Thank you. If she hadn't pulled the 2 people away, his head would have probably exploded. I had other intentions. It was nothing. The nurse sized up Shi Shang. She had been on the 6th floor for a long time, but he had never seen her sick. If it wasn't for the information clearly written on her file, he would have thought that this girl was normal. My name is Deng Jun, the nurse scratched his head. You can go back to the room first. I'll clean up here. Chapter 11:11. Shi Shang received some snacks from Deng Jun that night. I didn't know which ones you like, so I just bought some for you. Thank you. Shi Shang placed the bag on the table beside her. Are you working the night shift? Deng Jun nodded. Yes. Call me if you need anything. I'm going out now. Dr. Yen asked the same questions as usual during his ward rounds at night. In the end, he suddenly asked about what had happened this afternoon. And Chi, I heard that you saved a nurse's life this afternoon? I forgot. Shi Shang lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Dr. Yan's mouth twitched. You forgot everything that happened this afternoon? I'm so busy every day. How can I remember so much? Shi Shang rolled her eyes. Dr. Yen was speechless. Why did this girl act up as soon as he arrived? Dr. Yen ordered the nurse. Give her the medicine. The nurse pushed the trolley forward and took out her medicine. She handed it to Shi Shang. I don't want to take it now. Leave it here. Dr. Yen didn't say anything. He asked the nurse to put the medicine down. Remember to take it. The nurse will come and collect it later. After Dr. Yen left, Shi Shang glanced at the medicine bottle and threw all the medicine into her space. She wasn't sick at the moment. If she took the medicine, she might get sick. Shi Shang lay on the bed and pondered about life. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the corridor. The soundproofing on the 6th floor was quite good. She could hear it even from inside, which showed how big the commotion outside was. She jumped off the bed and tried to open the door. It was locked. The door would be locked at night. She could only look outside through the glass. The young nurses brought by Dr. Yen were screaming as they ran downstairs. Her vision was limited. She could only vaguely hear that Dr. Yen was injured. It was dangerous to work in a mental hospital. Lunatics could cause trouble at any moment. It took a while for the outside to quiet down. The nurses went to check the wards one by one. When Deng Jun came to check the ward, Shi Shang took the opportunity to ask him, "What's going on outside?" "Lu Yong is acting up. Dr. Yen is injured." Deng Jun quickly checked the windows and left the room. Lu Yong injured a doctor. He would probably be sent upstairs. The next day, when the Shi Shang got up and walked around, he didn't see Lu Yong. He guessed that Lu Yong had been sent upstairs. Shi Shang leaned on the balcony and looked at the group of lunatics below. Su Lu was standing below. She was chatting with the nurse. She probably noticed that someone was staring at her. She turned her head and looked around. Then, she looked up. Seeing the person standing on the balcony of the 6th floor, Su Li's expression changed slightly. Shi Shang was on the 6th floor, so Su Li couldn't have gone upstairs to look for her. However, she hadn't heard anything for a long time. Su Li felt that she hadn't seen her that night. "Xiao Lu, why are you standing there? Officer Zhou is calling you." A nurse waved at Su Lu from afar. Su Lu quickly regained her senses and looked at the nurse. "Coming." She turned to look upstairs again. It was empty. There was no one there. Su Lu pinched the hem of his shirt and ran towards the nurse. He followed the nurse to see Zhou Ning. "Big brother Zhou." Su Lu greeted. "Xiao Lu, you're here. Have a seat." Zhou Ning frowned. "Has there been anything unusual recently?" Su Lu was nervous. She carefully observed Zhou Ning. Nothing unusual. And Qi was sent to the 6th floor. Ordinary patients can't go up to the 6th floor. Su Lu paused for a moment. Will the murderer stop? Su Lu hadn't been sleeping well for the past few days. She would wake up when she heard the slightest movement outside. She was afraid that the murderer would come looking for her again. She regretted telling Zhou Ning that she was being chased by the murderer. However, it was too late now. She couldn't tell him. "Xiao Lu? What's wrong?" Su Lu was shocked. She glanced at Zhou Ning and quickly lowered her head. "Nothing. Don't give yourself too much pressure. This is a police matter. You should rest more." Zhou Ning patted Su Li's shoulder. Su Lu pinched the hem of her shirt. "I also want to catch the murderer as soon as possible." In Zhou Ning's opinion, Su Lu was still a patient. He had to think of another way. Zhou Ning and Su Lu chatted for a while before Zhou Ning left the hospital in a hurry. When Su Lu returned, she glanced at the balcony again. She clenched her fists. She had to catch the murderer quickly. Shi Shang sat in front of the table in his room and drew. He had recently learned a lot from Deng Jun and the others had a contract with the hospital. They were long-term workers. The nurses on the 5th floor and below didn't have a contract with the hospital. They were paid by the hour. The information of these people wasn't recorded in the computer. There was only a booklet with the guards. As long as they matched the person, the guards would let them in. This meant that the murderer was very likely to be one of these people. Why was it so annoying? Shi Shang threw the booklet away. I don't care who you are. Shi Shang ate and slept all day on the 6th floor. Other than chatting with Deng Jun, he didn't do anything else. The system felt that its host was holding back a big move. It could accept that she didn't investigate the murderer. However, it was too abnormal that she didn't even look for Feng Ci. The 8th floor is full of iron railings. I would be courting death if I went up there. Shi Shang couldn't help but complain. You're afraid of iron railings? I'm afraid of many things. She was also human. Was it strange that she was afraid of things? There was nothing wrong with it. Hee, I've never seen the host afraid of anything. What does it have to do with whether I dare to kill it or not? It doesn't seem to matter. It seems to matter. The system was a little confused. It had to slow down. In the middle of the night, Shi Shang suddenly sat up. She scratched her head and looked out of the window. The moonlight outside was cold and cheerless. It was hazy like a layer of gauze. The moonlight poured in through the window and lit up the room with a chill. She moved to the window and looked down. It was dark and she couldn't see anything. Buttface, are you dead? The system you called is not online. I told you, don't call me Buttface. Believe it or not, I'll make sure you never go online. The system was silent for a while. What do you want? Help me block the hospital's surveillance. You can do it yourself. Why do you want me to help you? You're now mine. Do you have a problem with helping me do something? I want to go offline. You can try going offline. The system weighed the pros and cons and decided to endure the humiliation. Item needed. Buy it. It wasn't expensive now anyway. Host, you're really going to get beaten up. Not only did you blackmail me, you even want to enslave me. Don't let the system turn over, or else, I'd better turn over first. The system exchanged for an item in the system store. A few seconds later, it told Shi Shang that it was ready. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little Fairy, vote. Cherub, no more fancy votes? Little Fairy, I'm too lazy to ask. Vote if you don't want to. Cherub. System, are you out of love? System owner, maybe I'm stuffed with dog food. Shi Shang, it's not me. I'm not online yet. Cherub. Vote then. System, this is a fancy vote. Identification complete. Chapter 11-12. Shi Shang jumped out of the window and landed lightly on the ground. Then, she walked to the back of the building. The entire hospital was quiet. The wind brought with it a faint smell of blood. As she got closer, the smell of blood became stronger. No, the murderer had strangled the victims to death, so there wouldn't be such a strong smell of blood. Shi Shang paused. She took out an invisibility talisman and pasted it on herself. Then, she continued walking. The more she walked, the more desolate the place became. However, the smell of blood became stronger. Just as Shi Shang was about to make a turn, she heard a shrill meow in front of her. It sounded as if someone had stepped on its tail. It was very miserable. Shi Shang. Mama is a psychopath. Ah, no, there's a murderer. She rushed over and looked in that direction. The moonlight was very bright. There seemed to be a black figure standing in the bushes. The meow had disappeared. The black figure was holding the cat in his hand. The black figure carried the cat into the darkness and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Shi Shang waited for a while. Then, she slowly moved over. There was a corpse on the ground. He was wearing a hospital gown. It was covered in blood. There was a big hole in his chest. His heart was missing. So cruel. Russell. Shershang looked behind her. A black figure flashed past and entered the building she was staying in. About 3 minutes later, she heard a scream. It was very familiar. It was Su Li's voice. Because of Su Li's scream, the originally dark building suddenly lit up. In the blink of an eye, the building was brightly lit. A commotion could be heard coming from the building. The black figure that had darted in earlier ran out, clutching his arm as he ran towards Shershang. When he ran past Shershang kicked him and he fell to the ground. There was no one in front of him, but he was kicked to the ground. A trace of fear appeared in the man's eyes. He quickly looked around but didn't see anything. He struggled to get up from the ground. Suddenly, he felt a weight on his waist. Something was stepping on his waist, preventing him from getting up. The fear grew. Suddenly, the man became angry and waved the knife in the air. "Stop pretending. I'm not afraid of you. Come out." He rolled on the ground. The force on his waist disappeared. The man stood up and pointed the knife at the air. He swallowed in fear. What the hell is this? The commotion behind him was getting closer. The man made up his mind and rushed forward. He was kicked away again, but this time, he grabbed onto Shershang's leg. It was still warm. The man calmed himself down and pulled the leg with all his might. He waved the knife in her direction. Shershang blocked the knife with his hand and swept the man's lower body, knocking him to the ground again. "Don't move. Police." Countless rays of light shone on this side. The doctor and nurse on duty stood in the distance. In fact, only 2 of them dared to step forward. These 2 people were undercover police agents. With the light, the criminal saw that the person he was fighting with was actually a little girl. But why didn't he see her before? Shershang met the criminal's gaze and face-bombed. "It's over." He actually tore off the invisibility talisman. What quality? What happened to the promised safety and reliability against dropping? There were too many unscrupulous merchants nowadays. "And Chi, why are you here?" The policeman recognized Shershang. After all, he was now a suspect. Shershang was silent for a moment. "I might be sleepwalking." "Everyone." "Sleepwalking could have come here from the 6th floor. Did you just jump down?" The 2 policemen looked at each other and handcuffed the criminal on the ground. Just as the policeman lifted him up, his gaze suddenly swept to the side. The bright red bloodstains seemed to be a guide. He craned his neck and looked in that direction. His expression changed and he shouted at the policeman behind him, "There's a corpse here." The criminal who was caught insisted that he was here to steal. He didn't know what corpse he was looking for and didn't kill anyone. The police wanted to collect evidence and bring him back to the police station first. The corpse that was found later was obviously unrelated to the previous cases. The method used was completely different. The biggest suspect was Shershang, who was present at the scene. Shershang was a mental patient, so they didn't bring him back to the police station. They cleared out a room to interrogate him. "Why are you here?" The policeman stared at him sharply. "Sleepwalking. According to your file, you don't have sleepwalking problems." Shershang crossed his legs and said casually, "Now I do." The policeman. "Are you a doctor?" "Just because you say so." The room was silent for a while. The policeman asked again, "You live on the 6th floor. There are 2 electronic doors between the 6th and 5th floor. How did you come down?" Shershang looked at the policeman as if he was an idiot. "How would I know? I was sleepwalking." The policeman sneered. "Don't tell me you killed him while sleepwalking." "Why would I kill someone?" "You're asking me? Who should I ask?" "You're the suspect." Before the policeman could say anything, Shershang said, "I have so many ministers. Even if I wanted to kill someone, why would I do it myself?" It was better to deal with a psychopath than a lunatic. The policeman felt that Shershang was playing with him and was a little angry. "And Chi, do you think we can't find out if you don't tell us?" Shershang raised his eyebrows slightly. "Then go ahead and investigate. I'm not stopping you. I didn't kill him. It would be strange if he could investigate. Shi Shang was like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. The group of policemen was at their wits' end. The suspect was a lunatic. The doctor said that she was sick and they couldn't continue questioning her. Shi Shang was locked up in the room alone. Outside the room, Zhou Ning looked at the surveillance camera with a serious expression. The surveillance cameras in the entire hospital are broken. They didn't capture how she came out. The policeman who interrogated Shi Shang just now replied, and Qi insisted that she was sleepwalking. The doctor said that she was sick. I think she's very awake. Zhou Ning took the medical record and flipped through it. She doesn't have sleepwalking problems in her medical record. The policeman was amused. Yes, I asked her the same thing. Guess what she said? She said that she's sick now. Isn't that nonsense? There's definitely something wrong with Qi. Did you get in touch with her family? The policeman hurriedly told Zhou Ning the results of his investigation. No, the bank account provided by the hospital has been deleted. She's also confirmed dead. And Qi's medical fees were paid in one go for 10 years. Not everyone could afford such a large sum of money. Can you still find out who sent her here? Captain Zhou, it's been so long. I've asked the doctors and nurses who were there at that time. Everyone only remembers that the other party was a man. He wore sunglasses and was about 1.8 meters tall. It was raining at night when he was sent here. It was dark and they couldn't even see his face clearly. Zhou Ning wiped his face. Continue investigating. I don't believe that this person could have appeared out of nowhere. Since he was a suspect, everything had to be investigated thoroughly. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Policeman, why is it our show again? Little Fairy, isn't it good to add more scenes for you? Policeman, please don't add more scenes for us. Let us settle the case peacefully. Little Fairy, you've already added more. You should finish it. Policeman. Chapter 11:13. The autopsy results came out quickly. The time of death of the body was between 11 and 12 o'clock. However, the surveillance cameras were still working at that time. They clearly captured Shi Shang in the room. With this evidence, they couldn't lock Shi Shang up. But there was a problem that they had to figure out. And Qi, how did you come down from the 6th floor? There were no signs of damage to her room. There were people on duty in the corridor outside. If she went out through the door, they would have seen her. But they didn't. I jumped down. And Qi, even if you're cleared of suspicion, we won't let you go if you don't answer this question. Please answer our question seriously. I'll tell you the truth. What can I do if you don't believe me? She had jumped down. The 6th floor is so high. How did you jump down? The police sneered. Do you think you're Spider-Man? Shi Shang corrected them. Spider-Man is so ugly. I should be a fairy. You used to call me I, but now you're a fairy? The police were speechless. They didn't want to talk to this lunatic. The police took turns asking questions. Shi Shang either said that she jumped down or sleepwalked. But they didn't believe either of these answers. Neither of them made sense. How could they believe her? They couldn't let her jump down for them, right? The situation was a bit deadlocked. Change of shift. A police officer pushed the door open and came in. He switched shifts with the police officer who was guarding Shi Shang. Shi Shang lifted his eyelids and then lowered them again. He closed his eyes and continued to rest. Has the case been solved yet? Not yet. She's very stubborn. Hey, let's talk when we get back to the station. The police officer glanced at Shi Shang. The other police officer immediately shut up. Shi Shang and them were in a deadlock until the evening. In the end, the hospital asked them when they would let her go. They also had something to ask. The police had no choice but to let her go. She came out of the room, but she didn't do anything. She was even sick. They were desperate. Shi Shang came out of the room and saw Zhou Ning at first glance. He had shaved his beard and had an unlit cigarette in his mouth. He looked much younger than before. His facial features were tough and handsome, exuding a masculine aura. He didn't look like the handsome type in other novels. What a tough guy. This was a novel that focused on strength. The corner of Shi Shang's lips lifted, a faint smile spreading across her face. However, that smile did not reach her eyes. Her eyes were calm, as if no matter how big the storm was, it could not cause a single ripple. Similarly, no one could glean any useful information from her eyes. Just as Shi Shang was about to walk over, Zhou Ning said, "And Qi, do you really not remember what happened before you came here?" "I don't remember." Shi Shang didn't turn around. She waved her hand. "Captain Zhou, if you have any clues, you must tell me. I also want to know where they came from." Zhou Ning stared at Shi Shang's back and frowned slightly. She did not use the subject just now. However, Zhou Ning felt that he was overthinking things. Shi Shang followed the hospital staff back to the building. When she passed by the balcony, she suddenly looked up. The balconies below the 5th floor were very lively, but the upper floors were very quiet. The 8th floor was surrounded by iron railings and nothing could be seen. Shi Shang frowned and walked towards the stairs with her head lowered. When she went upstairs, the hospital staff came to ask her how she went down. Shi Shang still gave the same answer. He didn't believe her lies or the truth. There was nothing she could do about it. Sometimes, the unbelievable was often the truth. After the staff left, the room finally quieted down. Shi Shang propped her chin up and looked out of the window. Outside, the dark clouds were rolling. It seemed like it was going to rain. Other than Shi Shang and the suspect of another case, there were no other clues in the heart-digging case. The previous case was also a little tricky. The suspect refused to admit that he killed the people. They did not find any useful evidence at the scene or at the suspect's home. When he was seen by someone, he insisted that he only wanted to steal something and not kill anyone. Su Lu stood up to identify him, but the suspect found an excuse to escape in the end. This suspect could kill so many people in the hospital without being found by the police. He was definitely not a good person. If Shi Shang had not stopped him at the scene, the police would not have been able to catch him. As long as he did not kill anyone, he would just be locked up for a few years. He would be a good man when he came out. They knew that he had killed someone, but there was nothing they could do about it. The suspect even hired a lawyer to clear his name. Because there was insufficient evidence, he was not convicted of murder. As for the other charges, he would only be sentenced to 2 years in prison. The police were only responsible for arresting people to solve cases and submitting evidence. They could not interfere with the sentencing. Therefore, no matter how angry they were, it was useless. Zhou Ning had not slept for a few nights because of this case. However, he still had another case and did not have time to rest. Zhou Ning's beard grew again. Fortunately, he was dressed neatly. Otherwise, Shi Shang would think that he was not the male lead but a beggar. This man was sitting opposite him. Shi Shang calmly took a sip of tea. "Captain Zhou, why are you looking for me?" Zhou Ning's voice was hoarse. "And Qi, what did you see that night?" The suspect had been chased out by their men. He also had an alibi for the time of death. Therefore, he did not kill the person and he did not know who killed the person. Now, the only clue was the woman in front of him who was once listed as a suspect. Shi Shang put down his teacup. "I didn't see anything." "You were right next to the body." "You really didn't see anything?" Zhou Ning's sharp eyes looked straight at Shi Shang. "Do you know the consequences of not reporting something?" "Officer Zhou, do you think the words of a mental patient can be used as evidence?" "Even if I saw it, why should I tell you?" "Idiot." Of course, Zhou Ning knew that it was impossible. He just wanted to scare her and find some clues. "Are you really crazy?" This girl's mind was very clear. She was different from the Qi he had seen before. Although she was similar to the sober Qi, they were not exactly the same. In the past, An-Chi was also very calm and collected. However, she was not like this. There was an indescribable, evil aura around her. Yes, evil aura. The faint smile at the corner of her mouth made people feel very uncomfortable. It was as if she could see through them. Shi Shang smacked his lips. If the doctor says I'm sick, then I'm sick. If the doctor says I'm not sick, then I'm not sick. You have to ask the doctor about this. Zhou Ning thought of her medical record. That medical record was updated not long ago. The conclusion was that it was more serious than before. Could it be that the more serious a mental illness was, the more powerful it was? How could a normal person live if that was the case? As the saying went, geniuses are on the left and lunatics are on the right. Asterisk, I'm begging for a monthly vote. Sob, sob, sob. My pockets are full at the beginning of the month. Chapter 11:14. An-Chi, hiding the evidence won't do you any good. Instead, you'll let the murderer find you. Zhou Ning calmed himself down. That's an innocent life. Are you going to let the murderer get away with it? Shi Shang smiled and said calmly, Officer Zhou, I'm just a patient. Zhou Ning was speechless. Weren't all mental patients complaining that they weren't sick? An-Chi. Hello. Zhou Ning's words were interrupted by a sudden voice. A man in a white coat stood next to Shi Shang. He was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. The lenses blocked his eyes. His face was a little pale, but it did not lose its beauty. He exuded an elegant temperament. The words beast in human clothing popped up in Shi Shang's mind. You are. Zhou Ning obviously didn't know this man. The man seemed to smile. Dr. Yen can't come to work for the time being. I'm Mu Li, An-Chi's attending doctor. Officer Zhou, you've been talking to my patient for half an hour. It's not good for her condition. Shi Shang was dumbfounded. What the hell? This beast in human clothing was I's attending doctor? Zhou Ning frowned slightly. I've never seen you before. Mu Li nodded slightly and spoke slowly. I'm officially employed today. It's normal that you don't know me. You can call the hospital director for confirmation. Zhou Ning did indeed ask the hospital director for confirmation. The hospital director confirmed that Mu Li was a newly employed doctor and even sent Zhou Ning a file. Officer Zhou, can I take my patient away now? Mu Li asked politely when he saw Zhou Ning put away his phone. He seemed polite, but in reality, Shi Shang didn't see any courtesy on his face. I still have something to talk to An-Chi about. Can Dr. Mu give me a few more minutes? Mu Li glanced at Zhou Ning. Officer Zhou, if you need anything, you can make an appointment with me. I'll arrange a meeting between you and An-Chi. But now, I have to take An-Chi away. Mu Li's tone became forceful as he spoke. Zhou Ning was speechless. Did a police officer need an appointment to handle a case? Mu Li seemed to know what Zhou Ning was thinking. He pushed up his glasses. Officer Zhou, An-Chi isn't your suspect. Zhou Ning was speechless. An-Chi's suspicion had been eliminated. She was indeed no longer a suspect. Mu Li looked at Shi Shang. An-Chi, let's go. Shi Shang didn't want to leave with this beast. It was safer to stay with the male lead. Officer Zhou, I think I can still talk to you for a while. Zhou Ning glanced at Shi Shang in bewilderment. He could not understand the brain circuits of a lunatic. Mu Li didn't show any signs of anger. Instead, he lowered his voice and said, An-Chi, you should go back for a checkup. What kind of checkup was this? Did this beast want to dissect her? It must be. It was too terrifying. There's a pervert here. Dr. Mu. Zhou Ning still had a lot of questions to ask Shi Shang, but before he could say anything, Mu Li's gaze drifted over. Are you sick? Sick my ass. I'm not sick. Where's I's sword? Shi Shang bent her knee and tried to hit Mu Li's lower body. Mu Li quickly pressed her leg down. Her knee was right next to his lower body and he could feel her heat. Pervert. Mu Li lowered his head and glanced at her. A smile appeared on his pale face. So you'd better not move around now. Otherwise. Otherwise what? Shi Shang's expression turned cold. Are you going to force yourself on me? Huh? Mu Li pressed her leg down and said gently, "And Qi be good. I won't hurt you." Shi Shang snorted. How arrogant of you. Shi Shang suddenly raised her head and tried to hit Mu Li. While Mu Li was dodging, she managed to free herself from his body. She kicked his waist, grabbed the bedsheet beside them and pulled it around his neck. Mu Li tripped over something beside him and fell to the ground. Shi Shang grabbed the bedsheet and looked down at him. "Dr. Mu, do you still want to do a full body checkup on me?" Mu Li was speechless. He had underestimated her. Chapter 11:15. Dr. Mu, and Qi? Are you all right? Deng Jun's voice suddenly sounded from outside, followed by the sound of the door lock being turned. Although Shi Shang had locked the door, it was not a problem for the staff of the hospital. The door was quickly pushed open. The first person Deng Jun saw was Mu Li, who was lying on the floor, and then Shi Shang, who was standing beside Mu Li. And Qi. Was she having a relapse? You? Shi Shang threw the bedsheet away and kicked Mu Li in front of Deng Jun. Drag him out and behead him. Deng Jun was speechless. She was indeed having a relapse. Deng Jun looked at Mu Li sympathetically. She had been on the 6th floor for a long time, but she had never had a relapse. Deng Jun felt sorry for Dr. Mu. Mu Li was rescued by Deng Jun. There were no injuries on his face, but his waist and legs were throbbing with pain. Deng Jun was really ruthless. Mu Li calmly threw the bedsheet on the floor, pulled his white coat, and quickly left the room. Shi Shang stared at his back thoughtfully. He wanted to find a chance to kill him. It was too scary to have a psychopath around. Why was there always a retard who wanted to harm him? The murderer of the Zhongshan Psychiatric Hospital murder case died at 2 a.m. today. The cause of death is still under investigation. Shi Shang was sitting in the cafeteria, watching the news on TV and sipping his soup. Suddenly, Su Li's face blocked the TV. "And Qi, can I sit here?" Shi Shang put down his spoon and said clearly, "No." Su Lu tightened her grip on the tray. She looked around and sat down. "And Qi, I have something to tell you." "I don't want to hear it." Shi Shang leaned back and looked at her coldly. Su Lu felt uncomfortable under Shi Shang's gaze. She stammered, "And Qi, don't be like this. I don't mean you any harm." Shi Shang sneered. "You led the murderer to my room and you say you don't mean me any harm? Do you mean harm when I'm dead?" Su Li's face turned pale. She hadn't mentioned it for such a long time. She felt lucky that she hadn't seen it that night. A malicious smile appeared on Shi Shang's face. She pointed at the television screen with her chin. "Look, he's dead." When Su Lu met Shi Shang's gaze, an unrealistic thought surfaced in her fearful eyes. But after thinking about it, she found it impossible. Su Lu forced a smile on her face. "And Qi, what are you talking about?" Shi Shang looked Su Lu up and down. "This female lead's pretty good at acting like this. I'm not afraid of you collapsing, I'm just afraid that you won't collapse." He wondered if he could kill the other party in such a state. "Host, can't you put something useful in your head? How could this be called useless? If she doesn't die, I'll have to die. Isn't living something useful?" She was actually speechless. "You know very well what I'm talking about. You don't have to pretend." Shi Shang paused. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Su Li's face turned even paler. The stool flew through the air and smashed into the corner. Coincidentally, Shi Shang was sitting there. Shi Shang was also desperate. An unfavored cannon fodder was so unlucky. Where's my sword? Shi Shang had just taken out his iron sword when someone blocked in front of him. The stool hit him and fell to the ground. There was some blood on it. Shi Shang looked up slightly and only saw a tall back and the back of the head. That pervert. F***ck. That pervert blocked a knife for me? Maybe I'm not awake today. Mu Li reached out and touched his forehead. His hand was full of blood. He raised it in front of him and looked. Suddenly, his body went soft and he fell back. There was only Shi Shang behind him. Behind Shi Shang was a wall full of patients. She couldn't avoid it and could only catch the person who fell. She really didn't want to catch it. But if she didn't, she would be smashed. Shi Shang caught Mu Li and released him in the next second. He stepped on the stool, jumped on the table, and landed outside. Asterisk 2017. 0301 Little Angel in Book Review Area, E. Jing. Hashtag today's blue snowflake flavored votes hashtag monthly votes hashtag monthly votes hashtag. Chapter 11:16. Mu Li's face was covered in blood. Fresh blood dripped onto his white coat, soaking it in an instant. Mu Li had already lost consciousness. Did he die with just one hit? How could he be so weak? Surely not. It was impossible. Shi Shang stepped forward and touched his nose. He was still breathing. He was not dead. How could a psychopath die so easily? But that hit shouldn't have knocked him out, right? Shi Shang looked at Mu Li curiously. The hospital staff had already subdued the sick patient. Zhou Ning also arrived at the scene to maintain order. Su Lu was sent to the emergency room by Zhou Ning. A nurse quickly came to Mu Li's side. Seeing Mu Li's face covered in blood, the nurse was frightened and shouted, "Help! Dr. Mu is injured." The nurses carried Mu Li onto a stretcher and hurried him out. A nurse suddenly grabbed Shi Shang. "You're injured too? Come with me to the other side." "I'm not." Shi Shang looked down at the back of his hand. He didn't know when, but there was a cut there. It was bleeding. Shi Shang was speechless. "When did you get injured? Why didn't I feel anything at all?" She really didn't feel anything. It didn't hurt at all. She was very sure that her hand was not injured before Mu Li collapsed. It must have been after he collapsed. The space was very narrow. In order to avoid contact with Mu Li, she might have scratched it on the table. Mu Li was fine. It was just that his head was bleeding badly. It looked scary. The nurse bandaged Shi Shang's hand and reminded him, "Don't touch water for the next few days. Come here every day to change the bandage. I'll talk to your nurse." In the end, the nurse realized that it was useless to talk to him since he was a psychopath. She stopped talking and focused on bandaging him. Done. The nurse tied a knot. "Do you feel any discomfort?" Shi Shang shook his head. The nurse put away the bandages. "Wait here for a while. I'll get someone to send you back." The nurse talked for a while. Shi Shang waited for about half an hour, but no one came. Half an hour later, Mu Li was wheeled in. His head was wrapped in gauze. His glasses were taken off, and his handsome face was as pale as a sheet. He was awake, but his head was lowered and he was not looking at anyone. "Dr. Mu, have a good rest." The nurse's voice was exceptionally gentle. Mu Li ignored the nurse. The nurse turned to look at Shi Shang in disappointment. "And Qi, come here. I'll take you home." "She'll stay," Mu Li suddenly said. The nurse was puzzled. "Dr. Mu." Shi Shang shuddered. "I don't want to be with a pervert." She lifted her feet and walked outside. Mu Li seemed to raise his head to take a look, but he didn't. He didn't stop her either. When the nurse saw that Shi Shang had left, she looked around and didn't know what to do. In the end, Mu Li raised his hand and the nurse quickly chased after him. Shi Shang met Zhou Ning, who was supporting the female lead outside. The three of them met on a narrow path. Zhou Ning looked her up and down, as if he was trying to find a flower in her. His eyes were full of probing. Su Li's face turned pale when she saw Shi Sheng. She tried her best to shrink into his arms. A good dog doesn't block the way. How long are you going to block the way? Shi Sheng broke the awkward atmosphere. Zhou Ning supported Su Lu and moved aside. Shi Sheng walked past him. Just as they were about to pass each other, Zhou Ning said, "And Qi, justice grinds slowly but surely." Shi Sheng paused. She turned around and smiled mockingly. "Officer Zhou, why are you suddenly telling me this?" "I'm just reminding you." Zhou Ning's face was cold. "Reminding me?" Shi Sheng sneered. "Then I'll have to trouble you, Officer Zhou. If you have the time to remind me, why don't you solve the case earlier?" Zhou Ning wanted to find some clues from Shi Sheng's expression. Unfortunately, there was nothing. She was too calm. Zhou Ning looked at Shi Sheng, who swaggered away. His expression was ugly. "Xiao Lu, did you really hear her say that she's recovered?" "Yes." Su Lu nodded. Although she didn't admit it herself, that was what she meant. Zhou Ning thought for a while. "I'll send you back to your room first. Then I'll check the CCTV. She was a suspect before, but Dr. Yen had said that she was very smart. If she had committed a crime, there was an 80% chance that she would escape punishment." Su Lu observed Zhou Ning's expression for a while. About the murderer's death. There were no signs of entry or fingerprints. "Xiao Lu, don't make wild guesses. We need evidence. Brother Zhou, you have to believe me." Su Lu didn't know how to say it, but she had a feeling that the murderer was her. Zhou Ning patted Su Li's head. "It's not that I don't believe you, but we need evidence. If you can convict a person based on intuition, then the world will be in chaos." Zhou Ning didn't believe that Shi Sheng was the one who killed that person. Access cards were required to enter and exit the place. How could she kill that person in such a short time? Moreover, the CCTV didn't show any signs of entry. Su Lu bit her lip. "Brother Zhou, she's very scary." "I know. You should avoid contact with her in the future." She wasn't the only scary person. Dr. Mu Li was also scary. Okay. When Shi Sheng returned to the 6th floor, he heard someone crying. The door of the ward in the stairwell was ajar. Shi Sheng looked inside. The patient didn't seem to want to take the medicine and was being forced to take it by the nurse. The patient struggled so hard that the medicine spilled all over the floor. "And Qi, you're back." Deng Jun appeared out of nowhere and pulled her to her ward. "I heard there was a commotion in the cafeteria. Are you okay?" Shi Sheng pulled his arm back. "I'm fine." Deng Jun looked behind him. When they were in a blind spot, he suddenly lowered his voice and said quickly, "And Qi, I know you're different from them. When they give you the medicine, don't take the capsules." "Ha! What the hell?" Deng Jun didn't want to say anything more. He walked to the front and opened the door for her. Shi Sheng glanced at the CCTV and entered the room without a change in his expression. Deng Jun winked at her and closed the door. Side mission. Zhongshan Plan. Clue, Mu Li. Shi Sheng. Who gave you the permission to give out side missions? Host, this mission concerns your Feng Ci. Are you sure you don't want to accept it? Feng Ci. Wasn't he on the 8th floor? 8th floor. Shi Sheng thought of the iron railings that surrounded the 8th floor and face-bombed. Is he waiting for I to save him again? The system didn't say anything. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little Fairy. What do you guys do when you're in a bad mood? Cherub. Eat melon seeds. Shi Sheng. Chop people. Feng Ci. Look at my wife. System. Log off. System owner. Play cards. Mu Bai. Kill myself. Little Fairy. What can I do? Cherub. Write a story. Little Fairy. No votes. No motivation. Cherub. Haha. To put it bluntly, you still need votes. Little Fairy. Shy. Yes. System notification. Cherub has left this fake group. Chapter 11:17. Shi Shang inquired about the situation on the 8th floor. The 8th floor seemed to be isolated from the rest of the world. There was no internet, no surveillance, and very strict access. Shi Shang waited for a long time on the stairs, but did not see anyone coming down. "And Chi, Dr. Mu is here for a ward round," Deng Jun called out to Shi Shang from afar. Shi Shang glanced at his ward. Mu Li had his hands in the pockets of his white coat, and a few nurses followed behind him. He looked very imposing. His face was still pale, and there was no trace of blood on his lips. The bandage on his head had been removed, and he put on his glasses. He looked like a beast in human clothing. Shi Shang moved back to his ward, and Mu Li followed him in. Click. The door was locked. Shi Shang turned to look at Mu Li. Mu Li was leaning against the door, staring straight at her through his glasses. "And Chi, don't go near the 8th floor." The clue of the side mission was on Mu Li. "What's on the 8th floor?" Mu Li pushed his glasses up, and the reflection of the lenses masked the emotions that flashed across his eyes. "It's hell." "Shi Shang. I think this doctor needs to be treated." Shi Shang's eyes darted around. "Is it an illegal experiment or an anti-human research project?" According to the usual routine, these were the only things that could be involved. Mu Li's expression did not change. He took out a pen and started to write. He did not ask anything and left as soon as he finished writing. Shi Shang. What was wrong with this psychopath? Shi Shang received more information from the nurses. The 8th and 7th floors were sealed off, and people could only go up from the basement elevator. The basement elevator required a fingerprint switch. Without a fingerprint, people could not go up to the 8th floor. To outsiders, this was to prevent patients from escaping and hurting people. The patients on the 8th floor were extremely dangerous, so no one thought that anything was wrong. To be so secretive, they must be doing something shady. Later, Zhou Ning came to Shi Shang again about the heart-digging case. He also wanted to test her, but Shi Shang stopped him with a few words. The heart-digging case also happened outside, which meant that it was not done by people from the mental hospital. The person who died in the hospital was just a victim. There were countless murders in this world. Shi Shang had no interest in paying attention to those psychopathic murderers. She was thinking of a way to go up to the 8th floor. She had to go up and confirm if that man was Feng Ci. Shi Shang waited until nightfall and jumped out of the window. He stepped on the iron sword and flew around the 8th floor. He found a corner, lifted the iron railing, and jumped in. The 8th floor was very dark. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. The layout was similar to that of the 1st floor, with rooms one after another. Shi Shang looked around and walked forward. She could not hear anything. The entire 8th floor was silent. None of the rooms could be opened. This kind of door was specially made and was obviously different from the one on her floor. Just as Shi Shang was about to continue walking, the door of a room at the end of the corridor suddenly opened. The light slowly spread out. Before Shi Shang could hide, she felt her wrist being grabbed and pulled into the darkness. That person covered her mouth. "Sure. The reaction this time is a little big. Reduce the amount." "Yes." "What about the one in room 7? "There's no problem. I can get out of bed now." "Okay." Her voice gradually faded. The light disappeared, and the corridor returned to silence. The person who was holding down Shi Shang looked down the corridor. After making sure that everyone had left, he pulled back and growled in a low voice, "Didn't I tell you not to go near the 8th floor?" Shi Shang pushed his hand away. "It's none of your business." Mu Li stared at her in the darkness for a long time before saying, "Come with me. I have something to do." Shi Shang pushed Mu Li away and walked out. Mu Li looked around and followed her. "What are you doing up here?" "It's none of your business." Mu Li grabbed Shi Shang again. Before he could say anything, Shi Shang had already kicked him. The two of them started fighting in the narrow corridor. Mu Li was good at fighting, and the space was limited. The two of them exchanged a few blows, but there was still no clear winner. "Who's there?" A shout suddenly came from behind. Mu Li gave up resisting and turned around to stand in front of Shi Shang. Shi Shang heard the sound of something hitting flesh. Someone broke in. "Come and help." Mu Li grabbed Shi Shang and ran in another direction. The person behind them was hot on their heels. Bullets were fired from guns with silencers, and they hit the corridor with ear-piercing sounds. Mu Li hid in a ventilation passage with Shi Shang. The person who was chasing them ran down from below. Mu Li made sure that he was gone, and then moved forward. Shi Shang didn't want to be in such a narrow space at all. She was pulled by this man just now because she was confused by his sudden action of standing in front of her. "Follow me." Mu Li sensed that the person behind them wasn't following them, so he turned around and shouted. Shi Shang curled his lips. "Who wants to climb the ventilation passage with you? How could such a lofty person like this Bao Bao climb such a thing? Climbing through a window is better than this." She didn't have the strength. She jumped down from the ventilation passage and met the person who was returning. She took out her sword and knocked him down. Mu Li jumped down. The light made it hard for his eyes to adjust. When he opened his eyes, he saw the blood on his waist. His face turned pale, and he swayed and fell to the ground. Shi Shang had just picked up his gun when he saw Mu Li fall to the ground. "Shi Shang, as a psychopath, is it okay for you to be so weak?" "Da." Someone was coming. The person on the other end quickly appeared and shone his flashlight directly on Shi Shang. "She's not one of us. Kill her." Almost at the same time, the other party shot a bullet at him. Shi Shang blocked the bullet with his iron sword and quickly ran in that direction. The bullet hit the iron sword, making clanging sounds. The group of people on the other side was dumbfounded. What? How could someone block the bullet? Kill her. Everyone felt that they were in danger. If they didn't kill her, they would be the ones to die. The bullets were useless against Shi Shang. They either missed or hit the iron sword. Sparks flew in the dark. They saw a black shadow rushing towards them. The cold light suddenly enlarged in their eyes. Death was coming. The sound suddenly stopped. "Damn it, this retard still wants to kill I." Shi Shang supported himself with his iron sword and scolded in a low voice. When she turned around to look at Mu Li, who was lying on the ground just a moment ago, was gone. Shi Shang. Did she know how to burrow into the ground? She was indeed a psychopath. Shi Shang looked around but couldn't find Mu Li. Instead, he met another group of people who came up and fought with them without hesitation. There were only a few people locked up on the 8th floor. There was nothing else. Those people didn't look strange. Well, they were sleeping soundly. None of them woke up when she was fighting outside. She also couldn't find the man she saw last time. He wasn't here. There was an elevator on the 8th floor that led to the basement. She definitely didn't know that he had been transferred. So, she came here for nothing? So angry. She wasted so much of her time. Go back to sleep. Chapter 11:18. As soon as Shi Shang returned to the ward, someone came to check on her. "Did you hear anything?" the person asked as soon as he came in. Shi Shang sat on the bed. "What do I want to hear? Who are you? What do you want? How dare you barge into my bedroom in the middle of the night? Are you trying to rebel?" She suddenly jumped up from the bed and hit the person with a pillow. "How dare you order people to silence I?" Even if these people were not the leaders, they were definitely hired thugs. Shi Shang had no qualms about beating them up. Seeing that the person was being beaten up, the people around him quickly came to help. "Well, you are all trying to rebel. I must beat you to death today." Shi Shang stood on the bed while a group of people stood around the bed. The person who was beaten up just now was in a daze. How could a patient be so strong? And Qi is acting up. Come out quickly. Deng Jun stood outside and shouted at the group of people. These people often dealt with lunatics and knew that they should not provoke them when they were acting up. Moreover, they had serious business to attend to, so they quickly retreated to the door. Shi Shang jumped down and pretended to chase after them. Close the door. Hurry up and close the door. Deng Jun quickly closed the door. Through the observation window, he saw An Qi standing in the middle of the room and looking at him expressionlessly. Deng Jun suddenly realized that she was not acting up. The whole hospital was noisy until midnight. Shi Shang leaned against the window and looked at the hazy scenery below. Many people came in and out. Although they were wearing white coats and nurse uniforms, she had never seen them before. Their figures did not look like they were in this line of work. Instead, they looked more like hired thugs. They did not leave until the sun rose. At dawn, Muli came over with a group of people. His face was still a little pale. When he saw that Shi Shang was unharmed, his face darkened. Shi Shang didn't understand what he meant by that either. Was he regretting that she was not caught? Muli pushed up his glasses and restrained all his emotions. His voice was cold. I heard that you were acting up again last night. If I'm not acting up, then am I a lunatic? Shi Shang rolled his eyes. Muli turned to the group behind him and said, You guys go out first. I'll talk to her. It was very common for an attending physician to talk to a patient alone. The others left without any objections. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows and looked at Muli. What are you doing? Trying to silence her? Muli approached the Shi Shang. Didn't I warn you not to go to the 8th floor? Why didn't you listen? Why should I listen to you? Muli's voice seemed to be frosty. You are my patient. It is my duty to ensure your safety. I'm courting death. It has nothing to do with you. So, you pervert, hurry up and leave. I feel like you're going to dissect I in the next second. Muli sneered. I'm in charge of you now. You're related to me from head to toe. Shi Shang was silent for a moment. She could feel the aura of a beast in human clothing again. Muli restrained his emotions and stared at her from behind his glasses. An Qi, be good. Obedient my ass. Knock knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Muli looked at Shi Shang deeply and turned to open the door. There were 2 unfamiliar doctors standing outside. Dr. Mu, you're here too? One of the doctors greeted him. Why are you here so early in the morning? Muli said coldly and distantly. The nurse said she fell ill last night. I'm here to check on her. Dr. Mu, you've worked hard. The doctor patted Muli on the shoulder. Muli frowned and avoided the doctor's hand. What's the matter? Well, here's the thing. Previously, Dr. Yen was inconvenienced, so we asked you to temporarily replace her. However, the hospital director took into consideration that you're not familiar with the hospital. We've also transferred some people here, so we want to transfer you to the 4th floor. Muli's frown deepened. I don't think it's a good idea to transfer her. I've already done a thorough investigation of her condition. The doctor laughed. Dr. Mu, we're just following orders from the higher-ups. Please don't make things difficult for me. I'll talk to the hospital director. Muli glanced at them. But before that, you'd better not touch my patient. The 2 doctors' faces darkened. Dr. Mu, you... Muli pushed them out. He turned to look at Shi Shang before closing the door. Shi Shang watched them talk outside for a long time. The 2 doctors left in a huff. Muli stood there for a while before entering the ward again. If you don't want to be targeted by them, then listen to me obediently. Do you understand? Shi Shang. You're scared of those idiots. The river flows east, and the stars in the sky join the Big Dipper. If you don't cause trouble, you won't become a god. As soon as Muli left, Deng Jun came in with a kettle. He looked like he wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say a word because of the surveillance cameras. Shi Shang looked in the direction of the surveillance cameras. Why wasn't that psycho Muli afraid of the surveillance cameras? Could it be that he had someone in the surveillance room? It was good to have someone backing you. In the end, Mu Li was still Shi Shang's attending doctor. However, for many days, Mu Li had a gloomy look on his face. It was completely different from his previous image. The other people in the hospital were a little afraid of him. And Qi, Dr. Mu said that you can go downstairs to exercise. Shi Shang was watching the psycho from the balcony when Deng Jun suddenly jogged over. Shi Shang looked behind him. Mu Li was standing not far away. He was looking at her. Shi Shang couldn't see his expression clearly because he was too far away. After Shi Shang looked at him for 3 seconds, Mu Li turned and left. This psycho was weird. There were many people in the garden. Shi Shang walked along the path in the middle with his hands behind his back to photosynthesize. Just as he turned the corner, a woman suddenly jumped out from the bushes and hugged Shi Shang. "Don't go. I was wrong. I won't cause trouble again. Don't leave me. I can't live without you." The woman moved too quickly. She didn't seem to have any intention of killing. Shi Shang didn't have time to react and was dumbfounded. Shi Shang tried to pull away, but the woman hugged him too tightly. Shi Shang's mouth twitched. "Then you can die." The woman hugged him even tighter. "Baby, I was wrong. Don't be angry. I'll do anything you want. Don't leave me." "Okay. You can die first." "So you won't leave me?" The woman looked up at Shi Shang. Shi Shang's mouth twitched. He squeezed her wrist. Just as he was about to exert more force, a hand came from the side and easily pushed the woman away. Mu Li was tall and slender. He wasn't very muscular. From afar, he looked slender. However, he easily pushed the woman away. "What are you doing? Bad guy, let go of me. I want my baby." The woman struggled and tried to scratch Mu Li. Mu Li pushed her. The nurse behind him immediately held the woman down. Mu Li frowned and ordered, "Take her back to the ward." "No." The woman screamed and started to cry. "Baby, my baby. Don't leave me. Let go of me. I want my baby." Chapter 11:19. Mu Li put his hands into the pockets of his white coat. "Zhou Ning wants to see you." "Why does he want to see me? Didn't I tell you that I don't know anything? Why does the male lead keep pestering me? Is he crazy?" "I don't know." Mu Li turned to leave. "Follow me." Shi Shang pursed his lips. "I will lose face if you ask me to. I'm not going." Shi Shang walked in the opposite direction of Mu Li. Mu Li took a few steps and did not hear any sound behind him. He turned around and saw that she was already standing in front of 2 crazy people. She was grabbing one of them by the collar and throwing him to the ground. Mu Li was speechless. "She's hitting him!" The young nurse screamed from afar. The nurses who were scattered around immediately surrounded Shi Shang. Shi Shang was taken to the small dark room. Mu Li sat opposite her with a dark face. "Why did you hit him?" Shi Shang put his feet on the table and shook slightly. When he heard Mu Li's question, he raised his chin arrogantly. "I'm sick." Mu Li emphasized, "You're very clear-headed." She did not move after she hit him. She was not sick at all. "My hands were itchy." Shi Shang rephrased his words. "Anyway, I'm sick. It's not illegal to hit people." Mu Li was silent for a while. He got up and went out. "Send me the surveillance footage." The surveillance footage was sent to Mu Li quickly. The surveillance footage in the garden was from all angles. He pulled up all the footage that could be captured from that angle. In the footage, after he turned around, she immediately walked in the opposite direction. Then, she suddenly stopped in front of the 2 men and hit them the next second. Switching to the surveillance footage, he could clearly see that the man she hit had a perverted expression on his face as he reached out to touch her. Mu Li's aura suddenly turned cold. He picked up the phone on the table and dialed the internal line. "Send the patient in room 23 on the 4th floor to me." Mu Li took another look at the surveillance footage. He calmed himself down and went to the small dark room again. Shi Shang was still in the same position. The corners of his mouth were slightly curved and he looked like he was mocking him. "Can I leave now?" Mu Li let go of the doorknob. "And Chi, if you're smart enough, you should know what it means to temporarily avoid danger." Shi Shang put his foot down and sneered. "Heh. Why should I avoid you?" If she couldn't even manage a rundown hospital, how could she conquer the Sea of Stars? Mu Li looked at her quietly. His phone rang a few times before he retracted his gaze and turned to answer the call. The door was not closed, which meant that she could go out. Shi Shang watched as Mu Li's figure disappeared through the door. There was something wrong with this pervert. Shi Shang did not know how Mu Li had written the report to the hospital. Anyway, no one had come to question her after she had hit someone. Not only that, but she could also move around freely downstairs. Previously, Mu Li had said that Zhou Ning wanted to see her, but she had ignored him. Who knew that Zhou Ning would come looking for her? Even if she didn't go up to court death, there would still be a plot to make her do so. It was all **king trick. Flips the table. What kind of trick is this? Where is I's sword? I want to hack this male lead to death. Host, calm down. It's not good to kill someone in public. Shi Shang poked at the food on his plate silently and stared at the man opposite him as if it was his corpse lying on the plate. Zhou Ning's mind was filled with such a scene. Zhou Ning could not stand the atmosphere and broke the silence. "And Chi, I have a few questions to ask you." Shi Shang held his fork and did not move. "Why should I answer you? Who do you think you are?" "As a citizen, you have the obligation to answer the police's questions." Zhou Ning was mentally exhausted. He just wanted to ask her a few questions, not arrest her. Shi Shang threw his fork on the table. The fork collided with the tabletop and made a crisp sound. Does that mean that as a lunatic, hitting a police officer does not count as assaulting a police officer? Alarm bells went off in Zhou Ning's mind. The girl opposite him had already picked up the plate on the table and was about to smash it into his face. Zhou Ning dodged with practiced ease, but he could not completely avoid it. Many vegetable leaves hung on his shoulders and the soup spilled all over him. "And Chi, what are you doing?" Su Lu rushed out of nowhere and quickly brushed the vegetable leaves off Zhou Ning's shoulders. She was furious. "Do you know what you're doing? Assaulting a police officer." Shi Shang clapped his hands and shouted back with his hands on his hips. "Are you blind? Can't you see? Are you the only one who knows how to shout? I know how to shout too. If you know, then why are you still doing it?" Su Lu was so angry that her face turned red. "I'm crazy," Shi Shang said self-righteously. "I don't have to take responsibility for assaulting a police officer. It's a waste not to take advantage of this opportunity." Su Lu choked. Who was the one who set the rule that a lunatic would not be held responsible for assaulting a police officer? Su Lu thought for a moment and quickly said, "Your mind is clear now, which proves that you're sober and responsible." Shi Shang was not afraid of boiling water. He continued to be arrogant. "Oh, it's just assaulting a police officer. At most, I'll be locked up for a few days. When I come out, I'll be a good man again." Su Lu moved closer to Zhou Ning and suggested, "Brother Zhou, take her back to the police station." Zhou Ning had wanted to take her back for a long time, but Mu Li refused to let her go. Without the doctor's permission, he could not take her away. This time, she had made the first move, so it was a good opportunity. Zhou Ning took out his handcuffs. "And Chi, come with me." Suddenly, someone appeared behind Shi Shang and pulled her to the back. "Officer Zhou, and Chi only splashed a dish on you. It doesn't count as assaulting a police officer." **CK. Why didn't he make any sound when he walked? He came and went like a ghost. He scared the hell out of me." Shi Shang stared at Mu Li's back thoughtfully. Zhou Ning looked at Mu Li and felt a headache coming on. This man was very strange as the lunatic behind him. "Dr. Mu, why do you keep stopping me from working on a case?" As a soldier, Zhou Ning had a strong sense of righteousness. Coupled with the male lead's halo, He was very intimidating when he was domineering. Of course, that was only for ordinary people. Shi Shang did not look at him at all. He stared at the back of Mu Li's head, thinking about something. Mu Li's expression did not change. He even calmly pushed up his glasses. Officer Zhou, I'm just ensuring the patient's safety. You don't have any proof or evidence. Why should I let you take my patient away? Zhou Ning's face turned from green to black. For a moment, he was speechless. He only had suspicions, but he did not have any evidence. If there's nothing else, I'll take Qi away. Wait. Zhou Ning stopped Mu Li. And Qi, don't you want to know your background? Shi Shang's eyes shifted from the back of Mu Li's head to Zhou Ning. He was surprised. Officer Zhou, have you found out about my background? No. Then why are you talking about it? Shi Shang rolled his eyes. Zhou Ning's face darkened again. I found some clues. I can tell you, but in exchange, you have to answer my questions. I'm in a bad mood. I don't want to answer, and I don't want to know who I am. I just don't want you to solve the case. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.